A long time ago, a demon appeared in a peace-loving empire that attacked everyone around. Many residents then died in terrible agony that they did not deserve. The moment when the evil dragon was defeated after a fierce battle was the final one. No longer able to tolerate the monster, the inhabitants of the empire decided to oppose it. Everything went fine, but just before its death, the animal was cursed by the first emperor who led the warriors. Every time the moon rises, it will engulf him. Several hundred years later, the new crown prince of the empire became one of the most powerful in history. He managed to change everything, starting with himself. However, his appearance and character changed greatly immediately after the ceremony. He desperately tried to lift the curse, but failed every time. And so, when the young man seemed to have given up without everything, in front of him was the one who wanted to save him, without knowing it. Resigning to fate was no longer an option. The blonde, lowering her head, tries to say something. She interrupts the flow of thoughts, turning to the main character, who is sitting opposite, carefully reading something. Once again clasping her hands after Seal has agreed to the conversation, the young lady quietly mentions the fact that she has fallen in love with someone. The beauty raises her head, blinking her eyes in surprise. The wind rushes from the open window, blowing her hair, which adds even more beautiful zest to the image. The heroine has long wanted to talk about the person who managed to become so important to her, but now the moment of no return has come. The girl who started it all is Tyrael Puratina. Virgo is the embodiment of her innocence, and this is noticeable even in her appearance. Blonde hair and skin as fair as snow, Virgo managed to save the man from being absorbed by the dark force that was taking him. She is the main character of the novel Our Evil Dragon Doesn't Bite. The plot moves too quickly. The fact that the girl fell in love only meant that the original story was moving forward, and also meant that CL would die very soon. Snatching her friend out of her thoughts, the blonde seems to be trying to remind her of her existence, again asking what's wrong. The lady is simply surprised. In fact, the reaction is logical even for the heroine. Promoting the real story propels the girl to the guillotine, where she will soon end up. The heroine's betrothed is Duval, the villain of the novel. This man has no dignity, so he cheats on his fiancée with everything he sees. The young man decided that he could do whatever he wanted because he had great power. CL tried to come to terms with what she had gotten. The hero even once set his sights on the main character Tyrael, but in the end, he lost his head, because the king did not like such insolence in their direction. Duval apparently always wanted to go to another world, but ultimately did not do it on his own. The death warrant was also signed for his wife. The girl often wonders what will happen to her life. She would like to get another role, because she would like to live so much and do it while being happy. In any case, the heroine tried her best to avoid an undeserved death. She even saved the main character, who was suffering from poverty, in order to change the course of the original. In the original, the girl helped Tyrael join secular society. There should have been at least some benefit from this as such. All that remained was to break up with the groom. Hearing her friend's voice again, the lady returns to reality. She asks what kind of family the young man she loves is from. An acquaintance. A slight smile appears on her face, although the interlocutor continues to remain silent. The maiden asks if this is true, His Majesty the King, knowing that it is true. The answer is a firm no. The girl instantly jumps up from her seat, trying to hold back the flow of anger that is disturbing her. She can't figure out who it is. A skirmish begins, which drags on for quite some time because the interlocutor continues to deny everything. The heroine almost knocks out the answer. As it turned out, the beauty and the man are not on the best terms. It's better to date someone you can become friends with. The girl pauses. She asks for the last time if her friend will be angry with her, and then still says that it is young Mr. Esset. Trying to digest the information, the beauty raises her eyebrow. I can't believe that such a person somehow found a way to impress a girl. Asking for forgiveness from CL once again, the heroine asks what would happen if they just broke up. The guy likes the heroine like no one else. Virgo can't believe that this is true, but the thought process is interrupted by Duval, who burst into the room. Tyrael immediately rushes to the young man, hugging him tightly. The protagonist's grimace makes the girl realize that things are worse than they seemed. It comes to the point where the guy asks to break off the engagement. The fact that Puratina has fallen in love means that the plot begins to pick up steam, But it's a very impersonal development that sticks in your head. After everything that happened, the girl could not sleep. She goes out onto the balcony, thinking about what to do in the future and how exactly to deal with the new couple. The fact that sleep never came does not seem such a surprising thing. After the absurdity that happened, it only became much more difficult to find words. The blonde even cried, saying that they could remain friends, even if that's what they usually say after cheating on someone's fiancé. This won't make anything better. For a very long time, it seemed to the girl that a relationship with a new friend would help her avoid execution, but the turn turned out to be even crazier. In the end, nothing worked. Once again, it turned out that all the men surrounding Ciel were strange. In the young lady's past life, there was the same strangeness, because everyone she met turned out to be worse than ever. It is not clear why she was included in such a story. There is no more strength left. Virgo would like to know exactly how to change what is happening, even if she understands perfectly well that there is no point in getting angry alone. Obviously, the couple went to bed a long time ago, so the girl decides that she will do the same. She's not going to continue to suffer over nothing. A glowing letter was found on the floor. The content suggests that the crown prince finally answered her, who tried to do it even so late. The girl doesn't know what to answer. The future emperor and Tyrael asked to help them meet in a natural setting that needed to be created. Now there was nothing to answer. There was no choice anyway, so grabbing the pen, the lady is going to tell the whole truth so as not to spoil anything. Laverans writes that the future bride and groom of the heroine herself found themselves in a rather delicate situation. A few words will be more than enough. The answer came quite quickly, which is a little confusing. The young man does not understand what was meant. Since there is no one from the Puritan family in the castle, then the lady goes to the palace. For some reason, the conversation took a turn in a direction it shouldn't have. Perhaps Tyrael is engaged to Duval, but the heroine no longer knows this. With everything that is happening, the Virgin thinks that she is ready to come to terms with everything that happened to her in her past life. She cannot tolerate treatment of this kind. Still, deciding to find out everything that is happening and shed light on the situation, even for the prince who deserves to know, the girl writes the answer again. She didn't want to say something like that under these circumstances, but she obviously had no choice. The prince's future bride contacted Laverans' fiancé. Leaving things aside, the heroine thinks for just a second. After this, the maiden writes a new proposal, asking the crown prince about the possibility of meeting as quickly as possible, if this, of course, is possible. I would like to end with the usual farewell, but since the others have become crazy, even Ciel, this is possible. She suggests starting an affair. The next morning, to the sound of birds chirping, the lady woke up. It seems as if such a morning only contributes to mood and joy, but just like that, the girl's life began to collapse. A week passed, but there was no answer or anything from the prince. Most likely Laverans will be arrested for lese His Majesty because she managed to suggest such a thing. In any case, Tyrael is the main character, and even if this is betrayal, everything will simply be covered up with love and that's it. The end is inevitable. The author is clearly a fan of female characters, so you can't even judge him. Even if there are several people in a love triangle, it will not affect it in any way. Thoughts don't have time to gather together because a maid enters the room. She asks if the girl is okay, as she hasn't gone out for several days. May places plates of food on the table. The lady is right, after all, you have to eat in order to somehow live. In any case, we managed to get the engagement broken, so we should be happy. Noticing the maid's tears, the heroine hurries to ask what happened, but it is clear from her that the miss is upset. The couple acts as if nothing happened. After such a monologue, the brunette almost burns with fire. She cannot calmly stand by and watch, so she promises to take revenge on the offenders. Trying to convince an acquaintance, the main character reaches out with her hand, but is pulled away. In any case, you need to take revenge, no matter how things go. In any case, the question remains how to get rid of the couple. The lady found the guild emblem, Ciel's Love Manipulations. When this name is first mentioned, it seems that it helps with relationships, but the opposite is true. This is the guild where cases are exposed. In the end, after all the persuasion, May still managed to get the beauty to get ready and go where they needed to go in the morning. According to the maid, many people say that the guildmaster is quite dangerous. No more details are known, but this is not so important. If you make a person angry, he may lose control. He can turn a person into a doll so that he no longer dares to disturb him. Many also said that the native takes hostage men who cheat and then tortures them in the basement until the last moment. This gives me goosebumps. The girl understands that rumors are often exaggerated, but this does not change anything, because to some extent they are true. The man, who appeared as if out of nowhere, puts his finger forward, confirming the girl's words that they may be even a little bit true. The maid jumps in place, automatically pulling her master towards her to protect her. She didn't think things would turn out this way. Smiling, the young man introduces himself as the same head they were talking about a few minutes ago. This scares the brunette even more than before. It is obvious that the couple has arrived at such a place as they have an important request that cannot be delayed. Customers can only enter to take advantage of the famous services that are constantly provided there. Hearing that there are certain rules, the lady apologizes for bringing CL. She suggests leaving because it is too dangerous to go alone. As soon as the lady is done with everything, they will immediately take the carriage, and this is not subject to any discussion. Smiling, the handsome man claims that everything will be fine. Finally, the beauty says that Miss is very vulnerable. If she asks you to be gentler or asks you to cancel everything, you can't listen. The hero is going to do everything possible just to help. He wants to hide the fact that he considers the lady weak. A minute later, May leaves the street, shouting after her, something about how the two need to be punished. The brunette waves her hand, trying to quickly forget about what happened. Bowing, the young man promises that he will help with everything he can, so that the princess does not regret that she turned to him. Throwing a hood over her head, the beauty enters the room, looking around, as if she had really arrived for the first time and knew nothing. The master has finally returned, so people gasp. Ignoring the others, the hero asks what should be done with the groom and his new chosen one. Lowering her cape a little, the heroine seems to be calculating something right in her head, and in the end she simply asks people not to pay attention to their requests. All that remains is to listen to the girl. I still want to get more answers. The lady is worried by the fact that such a guild quickly became known in all levels of society. Whoever the person who arranged all this is, he is obliged to show up and completely change the course of events, apologizing in advance. Until sometime, the entire business was on the assistant, even if the mistress did not order to try to expand. There was too much money to refuse. Leiter begs for mercy. After what happened, he wants to retire and rest. This is not possible, because Laverins needs evidence of treason. This is so important that it does not require discussion. The reason for the creation of such a guild from the very beginning was a great desire to break with Duval. The boy's infidelity is no secret to everyone in secular society. Everyone has long known exactly how things are, but apart from rumors, the lady has nothing to show. Even after a break, a lot of information and folders from the archive, I realized that I wouldn't find anything. The Marquis was just trying to find evidence and clean up after himself. There is no need to penetrate the family circles because Duval himself suggested breaking up. You just have to keep looking for something slowly. Nothing more interesting happened. The only thing was that a few weeks ago, a strange guest arrived who knew that the man was not the head of the guild. The face shows fear. The lady would not want even a single soul to know about her weak points, so she asks about a personal meeting. As it turns out, the guy had a good reason for coming for help. Someone suggested that he have a revenge affair, so I would like to get some advice. There was still no choice left. The next day, everything was ready, so putting a new mask on her eyes, the lady waited for the person to meet. The prince would not come to such a place, but it was better to check everything. It would be worth identifying the transformation artifact, but it is not what is needed. The time comes when you need to find out who exactly is hiding behind the door. The one who arrived is probably there. It is better for no one to know that the noble lady is the commander of the guild. Entering the office, the date freezes. The girl smells some strong smell that clogs her nose, making it difficult to even breathe properly. He's still nice. A boy is already sitting in the room. It's strange that he decided to put on perfume, as if he poured out half the bottle so that it would pleasantly collapse. Examining the young man's facial features, the heroine hastily greets him. With such a face, the whole city would be on edge, so in the end, there was no explanation. After a few minutes of silence, while the princess examined the body and face, stopping at her eyes, the young man asks to remove the mask. He doesn't want any nerves, but he wants to make sure of everything. The aroma of perfume disappeared, which made the heroine even startle a little. She promises to keep everything a secret as she knows how to do it. You can't even build a business without something like this. A few days ago, a man whom the hero knows received a strange letter. He received a letter from a young lady who made some proposal that he would like to talk about. This lady's fiancé and the guy's girlfriend are having an affair. The lady assumes that this is more than possible, considering that they themselves admitted it right in front of her, asking for a divorce, which will happen. Ciel narrows his eyes. The story she's being told now sounds eerily familiar, even if it doesn't feel like it should. She sent the exact same letter. According to the guy, that girl suggested starting an affair. Horror is shown on the face because the heroine is helping, which most likely was not mistaken in thinking that it was about her. It is obvious that the crown prince is sitting in front of her. He came for help after everything that happened, but there is only one problem. According to him, he has no fiancée. Trying to take a deep breath, the girl calms down. The man in front of her is not the future emperor, because Ciel personally verified that the man was engaged to Tyrael. The blonde continues the conversation. He was offered many different things, but this was the first time he had received a proposal for an affair. He was even confused, so he came for help to understand what to do next. The young man is curious why the other party made such an offer and what was in her head. Laverins is good at such matters, so they turn to her. Ordinary people don't propose to just anyone to have an affair, so this seems strange. That is why the hero thought that she considered him somehow special. The answer has already become clear. All that remains is to simply give it to the one who came for it. You need to formulate everything correctly, simply confirming the words that were spoken. This seems too simple, but this does not change the fact that the young man spent a lot of money to get the confirmation that he would like to hear himself. Smiling, the girl begins her performance. Nodding her head and gesticulating wildly with her hands, the beauty says that the young lady truly considers his friend to be someone special. The blonde thinks so too, so he quickly agrees. Most likely, then, you should accept the offer, because something like this doesn't come twice, especially from someone good. The girl is a little jealous. Even if the hero does not know who this girl is, but from what was heard, it becomes clear that the lady proposed to her lover. Perhaps the young man took this task too seriously, but this is even for the best, because the girl did her best. The heroine wonders who is the one who sent the letter. To avoid seeming rude, Ciel comes up with a logical explanation. In order not to repeat myself, it is better to say the name, because the heroine or her fiancé can also contact the guild without knowing anything. Getting up from his seat to leave, the prince only warns the main one that if any requests related to her are received, it is better not to consider them. Not intending to let the client go, the girl asks who the lady is for the second time. There was no hint of personal gain or malicious intent in her voice, because the brunette had only arrived to help. The trick didn't work. The hero frowns, ordering Laverins to rise from her seat, and she obediently follows the order. Even the heroine herself does not understand why her body obeys what they say. Next, the man orders to forget absolutely everything he said. Nodding in response, the lady sees him getting closer and closer, intending to find out who is hiding under the mask. The girl is silent because she cannot change anything, but at the edge of her consciousness she understands that this should not happen. If this happens, she will suffer losses, and so will the guild. Trying to fight back, the lady moves away a few steps. The prince is surprised to realize that his abilities do not work at all, even if he wanted to. Returning to reality, the girl asks what is happening, realizing that something strange has happened. She tries to ask what's going on, but doesn't get an answer. The young man cannot control everyone around him so that they do only what he wants, so there is still no choice left. He understands that he needs to be careful. 2 days passed, but the lady never returned to the estate. May is a little annoying because she worries too much. The lady has had a headache since yesterday, so I don't want to be distracted. Telling the truth to the maid would not do. For a girl, the heroine is the most ordinary person. In her opinion, she needs someone who can unlock her potential and make her feel good. This is not true, but the rumors that are circulating around do not represent any possibility. Many people say that Miss Laverins is a crybaby, even apologizing for stepping on a flower. At this rate, the man is going to do something to help the heroine, but she doesn't need it, so she throws the paper right at his forehead. Angry, the young man tries to explain that everything will be fine, But in the end, he only hears reproaches, and then they ask her what kind of doll is in her hands. The doll is clean and not even cursed. Everything depends on the owner, so in this regard the Virgin is completely honest. Describing the little thing, the lady dreamily examines the golden hair, lower lip, and beautiful ears. The girl doesn't try to describe anyone in particular, but still goes into such small details. This person will go crazy if he finds out that someone is obsessed with him. Agreeing, the lady only nods fleetingly. She hugs the baby closer to her again, smiling with satisfaction, as if she had not heard anything. The heroine doesn't even have an excuse, and she herself understands this. The head and his heir of the novel are just dolls created by rhinos who play a role. The man did it for convenience and nothing more. I don't want to believe in such strangeness, but it really is so. In any case, this doesn't bother the girl because it's all about her beloved, which means there can be no downsides. There is no curse, and there never will be, because Ciel is not capable of such a thing. This is all nonsense, because the girl cannot reveal the truth yet. After that, she puts the thing back on the shelf, telling her subordinate that she is going to leave very soon. There is nothing like that, because this is everyone's personal matter. The lady is not going to listen to advice or what she should do as soon as possible, no matter how strange it may be. The girl arrived at the store on purpose. She had a list for purchasing continental maps, compasses, foreign texts, travel notes, and guidebooks. Without seeming embarrassed by her strange selection, Lavirens places the required amount on the counter in front of the seller, answering the question with a short, yes. It doesn't matter what the heroine did, because in the end, Tyriel, Duval, and Rhinos ended up in an ill-fated love triangle. If because of them she gets into some kind of trouble, everything will end very quickly. The girl understands that something needs to be done, so she bought all the equipment. She plans to leave the Empire before anything happens that could slow her down. Miss returned quite quickly, but it was unexpected. May tried to find out why the beauty returned so late, but she only said that she would soon leave the country for something better. Trying to explain to the maid that everything will be fine and even her parents will let her go, the lady is interrupted by the butler, who says that guests have arrived at their estate. The gentleman did not introduce himself, but said that he had something to say. The heroine was not expecting guests, so she only surprisingly agreed to let the person who arrived inside. Perhaps something happened while the girl was shopping. She couldn't say exactly what was wrong, but judging by the expression on her face, May began to understand that everything was strange. The door swings open and the man greets Miss Golden Hair and Amber Eyes, shining stronger than gold, indicate that the crown prince is standing in front of the lady. There is no time to think about the beauty of the young man, because he blatantly ignored the beauty's letter for a whole week, as if nothing had happened. Most likely, the girl liked him. The butler also blinks in surprise, and then leans down to ask Ciel if she knows this man. In response, he receives a positive response, so he escorts the guest out. Before letting Rhinos leave, the maiden comes closer, greeting him in return and pointing to the door where he should follow the butler, as if hinting. Turning around, the girl notices right in front of her nose a gorgeous bouquet consisting of red and white roses that smell great. Thanks for the bouquet, which turned out to be unexpected, the beauty offers to go to the guest room, and then sits down opposite on the sofa that she chose. The man addresses Miss Lavirens, trying to get her attention. It seems that the girl was thinking about such generosity or something else, without knowing how it all turned out. The young man immediately apologizes. He arrived without any proposal, but the girl still gave a rather warm welcome. Perhaps things would have been different if it had been some kind of villain. The girl thinks again. Obviously, this is a tricky question, because the heroine cannot say that she recognized the person sitting in front of her, because in the novel the prince's appearance was carefully hidden. While checking in, the lady comes up with a reason, because the person who gave such a gorgeous bouquet cannot be dangerous. He would not have come to Hortadillas at night if they wanted to cause pain. Interrupting, the boy says that no one knows what is happening, but the lady is going on a long trip. Obviously, he managed to notice this from the bags. They are going to discuss the proposal. The young man wants to invite the heroine on a journey because he arrived in order to accept the offer that he received. She pretends that she didn't recognize him right away. It's strange that Ciel doesn't know what the emperor looks like, because even the servants know. The hero also apologizes for not inviting him to his place, but since he gave such a bouquet, everything becomes forgivable. The flowers were only made better by the fact that they were given by such a good person as His Majesty. The girl is trying to participate in public life, saying all this. The young man's hands tremble a little when he grabs a cup of tea, drinking it all in one gulp. The drink tastes too good, but he seems confused, so he asks him to ask some questions. If the prince reveals his identity to the maiden, the end will come, so she says that it is a tea that tastes different to everyone, to diffuse the situation. Finally, moving on to the main agenda of the gathering they organized, the beauty says that it would be better for them to introduce themselves officially so that everyone understands about the new couple. Starting first, the guy introduces himself as Rhino's Lord Aaron. As the girl already knows, he is the future king of this empire, as well as the prince at the moment. The girl's name is Ciel Laverins. She is the only daughter of the Laverins family. Everyone around wants only prosperity for the empire, so the beauty does not want to lag behind this. Rising from his seat, the blonde leans sharply closer, leaving his hand at his side. Looking into the eyes, he says as if it were a fact that from the next day, they will become lovers. After the heroine looks back determinedly, the boy becomes embarrassed. When he is embarrassed and when he is not, it is like two different people who do not inspire any trust at all. Still trying to control herself, the beauty says that they should quickly decide on the date for the first meeting in public and some other conditions. The man raises his eyebrow in surprise. This is an agreement with certain conditions that need to be agreed upon in advance. While nothing has been decided with Duval, we will need to keep in touch. He didn't say that he would break up with Tyrael, which makes sense, because being a dragon, he needs someone with purification abilities. Virgo asks if the guy is trying to get his bride back. Walking away, the hero thinks, and then asks what would happen if he didn't have any bride as such. Most likely, in this case, everything would be completely torn apart. It's strange that the prince spoke about this so unexpectedly. Everyone knows that the guy has a fiancée, but then nothing would really work out. Ciel doesn't want to involve the emperor. Trying to save his situation, the young man asks to forget about everything that was said. He will accept all the proposed conditions, and if Laverins breaks off his engagement to Esset, he will do everything until the bride returns. Extending his hand, His Highness asks to take care of him so that everything is as good as possible. The Virgo grabs onto him as if for the salvation she needed. The couple will have to act as if they are madly in love with each other, but before that they need to discuss exactly how close they are so that there are no omissions. Holding hands is necessary and possible, but what is more important is that you need to be as close to your partner as possible. Everyone around must believe what is happening. Leaning even closer, the hero finds himself right next to the lips of the girl, who, turning away, blushes a little. They can only pretend that it is so, but this will not work. It's finally over. The man is about to leave, but the girl stops him, saying that after signing the contract, he simply must listen to her request, because it is important. In the Roma salon, as usual, there is a gathering of young aristocrats who discuss everything that moves. Many people say that the master of the Esset family has a new passion. Only a few days have passed since the last meeting with my ex-girlfriend. The new maiden is, of course, Tyrael, who enters the estate with her lover. The girl thanks her dear friend for escorting her to her chambers, to which she receives only a slight smile. The young man bends down to kiss the hand of the beauty, who smiles back. If others knew about this, they would not be able to look at it. Miss Laverins invested a lot of time and effort into Puratina, who betrayed her like that without even thinking about it. The girls decide that it is best not to mention what happened in the presence of the miss, but she herself showed up at the salon along with a handsome guy who helped her by opening the door. Thanks for the company, Laverins is about to say goodbye or hug before, but they stumble upon another couple, who are also still in the hall. The blonde looks desperate when she sees Ciel, but her companion looks annoyed. He turns around, hoping they'll have a good time, even if they do it together. Even the brunette notices that Esset is incredibly angry. Having been next to him for so long, the girl began to recognize all the emotions that were displayed on her face. Now he knows what she felt. Also about to leave, the lady stops because her ex-girlfriend is hovering around her. She repeats how much she was looking forward to meeting the one she sees, because last time she didn't manage to talk. There is not even one topic to discuss. They will no longer be close because there is no point in this, and they will not even be able to be acquaintances. One of the girls jumps up, hoping to save Miss from the importunity. She notices that the heroine was looking for a place to sit, so it would be best to do it with them. Miss Puritina seemed to have forgotten everything that had been put into her head for years. She became a completely different person, trying to ruin everyone else's lives and hoping to stay on good terms. After discussing everything that happened, the ladies turned their attention to the heroine herself. They were just wondering what happened after, and who was that young man with blonde hair. Trying to somehow soften the situation, the lady says that this is her appa from the temple. She was going to say something else, but she didn't even dare to mention the crown prince. Telling more, Laverins reveals his name, saying that he constantly follows her wherever she goes. Johann Duval Esset is a rather specific person and chooses only one friend. The young man didn't even have time to do anything, just appearing next to the maiden, but he had already done so that he trampled the pride of Duval, who never understood anything, only hiding his emotions. Arriving at the estate in the evening, the heroine turns to May, trying to understand what happened. She would like to receive an answer, which did not come, because just one reason is not enough. There is no choice left. No matter how much CL would like to be more friendly, she understands perfectly well that she needs to be the first and deliver a decisive blow that will defeat everyone on the spot. The letter quickly appears in place of the empty envelope, just like text on empty paper. His Majesty can go clothes shopping with her to start with the dates. Morning came completely unnoticed. It didn't start off well, as the maid hanging around kept saying that the guy was allowing himself too much. The brunette had heard a lot about the hostess's new boyfriend, but she didn't quite like the blonde. Everyone around had long since begun discussing the new couple, as if everything had already been decided. No longer intending to restrain herself, the lady tries to find out who this person is, but once again receives silence. The lady is not ready yet, so she is trying to formulate her thoughts. It's clear from the brunette's face that she hopes this isn't some fool who doesn't know much about women at all. The lady dispels everything, saying that this is exactly the truth. Duval has a keen eye for twirling women as he pleases. Then, by all laws, the lady can do the same. She is having an affair with that man, and it will last for a very long time. May is all for it, but in order to have an affair out of spite, you need to choose someone better and of higher status. As a loved one, you need to choose the best one for someone like Mrs. The girl tries to tactfully disappear, saying that it's time for her to go. The maid is not far behind, saying that a person should be just as beautiful and rich, which is no exception. A suitable option might be His Majesty the Crown Prince. The heroine doesn't even know how right she is, and doesn't even assume that her friend is dating him. Looking to the side, the lady notices the man. A grimace of horror appears on her face, because she does not know how long he has been in the corridor and how much he has heard. Noticing the blonde, the acquaintance almost instantly begins to attack him. No one knows where the one who came from nowhere came from, especially since you cannot come without an invitation. Even if the boy came with a bouquet, this still does not add any chances to him. His Majesty is much better, especially since Seal is suitable as a full-fledged person. No longer hoping to stop this car, the girl buries her face in her hands. She doesn't know what to do, so she only hears out of the corner of her ear a greeting from Rinos, who remains calm. In the end, everything ended well. The couple rides in a carriage after the young man introduces himself as the Crown Prince, noticing that his friend's maid cares too much about her. According to the one who stood in the middle, a man needs to be the heir to the empire in order to be with her mistress. In the end, he is lucky because he is the future emperor, which already has its advantages. The girl is good because she fulfills her duties and moreover takes care of who is next to her. The word still did not affect Rhinos, who ignored it. The hero is the only one who has such a high status that Seal deserves. But despite everything, I would like to hear the thoughts of the beauty herself. There are too many questions in his head, but the Virgo understands that he is also a person, so you can try to use his knowledge in sociology. Starting her tirade, the lady does not stop talking. She says that the blonde is the most handsome and good man in the entire empire, because just looking at him, you want to scream with joy. Noticing such a reaction, the girl smiles and laughs slightly. The young man was very embarrassed, even if he tried very hard not to show it, thereby confirming how cute he was. Nothing else happened as the trip was quite calm. They arrived at the place, So, helping his companion get out of the carriage, the blonde offers his hand, being a true gentleman. The woman greeting us at the entrance was quite surprised when she saw Miss Laverins, which means the rumors are true. Duval came to get the dress with Tyriel. You need to check whether a person can cope with embarrassment in front of everyone. The girl smiles, trying to use her sense of smell and asking if she can pick up several outfits for the weekend. Bowing down, the servant asks for forgiveness for what he is about to say, but they do not serve clients. She's sorry, but she can come back another day, which is quite strange for her to even say. Bringing the girl to clean water, the main character only says that a few minutes ago she was greeted with a welcoming smile, as if they were happy. Everything is fine with the store too, which means there are no obstacles. There is nothing to say, so persistently asking if she can come in, the lady, of course, receives a positive answer. Today, Esset will regret all her life decisions, and she will get what she wants. The heroine does not often visit such a place, but she cannot resist sometimes looking at some beautiful outfits that attract attention. Leaning close to her ear so that others don't hear anything, the girl notices the obvious. The staff furiously tries to stop the couple from meeting another couple. It won't work because that's exactly what they came for. Answering the question and the joke, the lady stammers. Only now did she realize that she didn't know what to call him in public. He extends his hand, saying that you can just Renos, giving relief. Miss can call him whatever she wants, but it will be most convenient, even if it is the name of the crown prince. Nobody knows which one he has, which already gives him some kind of advantage. The sweet conversation is interrupted by the culprit of all this. Duval bursts into the hall screaming and then asking what they forgot here, as if his wife was forbidden to go anywhere outside the estate. The silence never breaks, so the man quickly runs closer and, stopping, begins to point his finger at the couple, asking another question. He vehemently asks if they are lovers and hopes for a negative answer, but everything collapses as soon as his beloved clung to the impudent shoulder, talking about how close they are to each other. Sadly looking at the floor to press for pity, the boy sighs, realizing that now he has lost the only one he cared about so much, which means that nothing can be returned. The young man is going to retreat to do as he pleases his woman, but no matter who he saw, she is the one who cannot get out of his head. Love usually never fades. Renos, who had been peacefully watching all this time, intervenes in the conversation, hoping that everything will end. After the words were spoken, one could confidently say that he had gone off the rails, not thinking about the consequences. The blonde is wrong. It came out of nowhere, but now it makes its own rules as if nothing had happened before. This won't end well, so the best thing to do is back down. The woman forces the man to stop, but doesn't have time to say anything else, because a familiar voice is heard from the door saying her name. Of course, this is Tyriel, who Esset was with. Listening to questions about why Ciel left so quickly yesterday, the lady carefully examines the dress. I don't want to believe it, but the dress she was wearing was intended for the couple's engagement and wedding. Duval is also a character who does not know how to control himself. He chooses a dress with one for the engagement, and then, after a while, he confesses his true feelings to the other. Interrupting the thoughts that run in an even formation, the blonde comes closer to the prince, interestedly asking who it is with her, blushing a little, as if she liked him. They should have known each other, but now they behave completely differently. The realization begins to come to mind that the couple did not recognize each other in the salon, but did so only a day later, as an acquaintance. Obviously, they never met, but they were still engaged. This happens quite often, even if the lady didn't think about it at first. To play along with Ciel, the young man smiles and then, pulling the lady closer to him, says that he is her lover. Now everything should go more successfully, since the step has already been taken. I don't want to listen to nonsense. Duval grabs the girl by the hand, shouting that she will go with him, even if he allows himself too much. This seems strange to everyone around and also unexpected. The prince doesn't give up either. Promising to protect his new companion, he pulls her back, forcing the guy to stop. It is ignorant to harass other people's partners without their permission. The young man cannot calm down, continuing to repeat that the lady is his bride. It seems that he is not ashamed after everything that was said, especially in front of the one with whom he came to buy an engagement dress. Only now did Mr. Esset realize what a mistake he had made. He freezes, turning around in order to explain everything, because he understands that if something goes wrong, he will lose Puratina. To clarify a little, the lady says that this man arrived and stated that he still loved his ex-wife, despite how he had behaved before with others. Tears well up in the blonde's eyes, which she actively chooses. The man promised to marry her, but now he is blatantly lying, claiming that she did nothing, even if this is not even part of the truth. Miss does not want to talk even outside, so as not to distract the other visitors. She trusts her ex-girlfriend more than the guy, who apparently once again turned out to be different from the beginning. After everything that happened, Ciel was incredibly tired. She didn't think it would be easy, but she still realized that she was wrong when she hoped to get the rest of the things done right after going to the store for a fitting. A strange feeling did not leave the beauty from the very beginning. It seemed as if she had taken the place of the main character, but the plus was that the victory still remained with her, which helped to come to terms with it. The prince also did not understand how it all came to this. Finding himself on the street, he still wonders how it happened that such beautiful girls were both captured by a deceiver who did not care about anyone. It seems as if everything is not going at all as planned, but even the heroine has aces up her sleeves. Escalating himself proposed to break the engagement, so nothing will work out. Luck will be on the girl's side. There is only one question left that I want to hear the answer to. The guy had never met Tyrael, but even under such conditions, the engagement still had to take place. This is actually true. The young man did not know that this would happen, even if he had previously seen all the necessary papers confirming this. His heart must have started racing. This is exactly how it happened, even in the original book. After the prince saw the woman, he immediately fell irrevocably in love. This is how fate works. The answer doesn't seem to be what it should be, because it's wrong. The young man's heart actually beat quite quickly, but it was like that almost all the time because Ciel was nearby. Bowing, the man only says that it was very pleasant for him to play his lover. He seems calm and quite serious, as if this is the truth that is not hidden. Even if it was make-believe, the lady is still incredibly happy that she was called her beloved. She hopes that very soon everything will end and they will become free from each other. The scene in the store should speed up the divorce process. Now, even Duval will not be able to prevent this in any way, even if he makes every possible effort to do so. Ciel tried to forget about all the problems, only hoping that everything would be fine. But in the end, the very next morning, the young man burst into her office. He stated that he does not intend to get a divorce. Once the man was more rational, but over time he began to behave like a small, stupid child. They have already talked about everything and agreed on what they are going to do in the near future. There is evidence for everything, and breaking the law is not recommended. Placing an artifact with a recording on the table, the beauty shows the moment when her ex-fiancé demanded a divorce. Freezing, the young man thinks for a second about what he should say next, but in the end he simply breaks the thing. He smirks, asking what the young lady is going to do. The lady still has a lot of such recordings left, so Duval seems to be in despair. If this is so, then he can simply take care of his lover and their breakup, which will happen at any moment. Moments with the guy begin to slowly but surely drive the girl crazy. She can't hold back anymore, asking him to just tell his fiancé everything so she can just know. The answer is even more amazing than anything that came before. Escalating confidently says that his bride is Ciel Laveren's because it cannot be anyone else. Laughter breaks out as if on its own. People around will think that this person is an ideal man and a future exemplary husband, even if this is not the case. Just about to leave, without even listening to further protests, the heroine freezes. The words are amazing, because the guy remembered the beauty's parents, who would most likely be against it. Just recently, they lived in complete poverty. It may have slipped her mind, but so far it was the Escalating family that helped keep her afloat and not drown. Smiling lightly, the lady dispelled all doubts. She will be able to pay the required amount if something like that is demanded of her. Since there is time to talk, the hero is obliged to sign the letter. There are 3 days left, otherwise there won't even be any right to talk. The servant asks the guy to leave the estate, because the mistress is worse in anger than anyone else trying to do something. Not intending to swear, the young man leaves the room, shouting after him that his ex will regret this. The door slams loudly, causing everything around to shake like a house of cards. May arrived just in time. She comes in asking if everything is okay, but almost immediately notices a lot of broken pieces. The girl was not injured, but it looks scary. The maid begins to clean with her hands, without even listening to anything, because what is more important is that the answer was never received after the letter to Count Walton. The girl almost immediately panics. She asks the man to sign the papers needed for the divorce, but if the answer came a little later, it would not be as bad as not receiving one. Instead of the required letter, they sent a telegram with incomprehensible handwriting, which makes it difficult to read everything. Only the heroine understands that this is Lidsy's handwriting. Almost immediately, the girl asks the beauty to prepare something comfortable for a walk in the fresh air. It was impossible to delay, so it was decided to leave right that same evening. Virgo does not immediately tell her subordinate what exactly she is going to do at night, but still says that she needs to catch the escaped man. We're talking about an old friend. Sitting on the bench next to Rhinos, the lady sighs. The man still did not appear, although an hour had already passed. The waiting is starting to get boring and also drags on too slowly. There is nothing dangerous, even in what will happen. In order to get a divorce, you just need one small signature because without it, nothing will work. The prince had once heard that the Esset and Walton families were quite close. There is no point in letting down your guard, but in the end, the girl is going to carefully monitor everything. Getting up from her seat to walk a little before getting what she needs, the lady heads towards the garden, but the man sharply asks her about her attitude towards sweets. Walking further out, the couple notices a cotton candy store. It becomes clear why the future emperor asked about sweets. It is said that if you eat sweets, you can gain more concentration, even if the castle does not usually feed you sweets, in order to maintain your stern status and figure. In the castle, of course, there is no cotton candy, which is handed over to the beauty, but even this did not stop the hero from repeatedly hearing this name. Humming, the beauty says that it would be worth washing before eating. It's an incredible shame that there is no place nearby that could help with exactly this. While looking around the area, Reno suggests doing it in the fountain. For such a beautiful lady, he seems ready to do anything because he is losing his mind. Nodding, the young man reaches out with his hand to the treat on the stick, but in order not to take everything away at once, he tears off only a small piece from the top. Dipping his hand into the water, the hero takes it back, hoping to see a good effect. Blinking his eyes in confusion, the blonde realizes that the food simply disappeared literally before his eyes. Unable to stand it, the girl laughs lightly, putting her hand in the hope that she will not be suspected. She can't stand such cuteness that develops in its own way. Cotton candy doesn't even need to be washed. Virgo asks for forgiveness for such unfunny jokes, even if out of the corner of her eye she still notices a fleeting smile forming on her face. Just about to start eating, the lady notices Count Walton from afar. This was not the first time she had seen him, so she immediately understood everything by his signature coat and glasses, which were missing today. Rhinos frowns. He lowers his gaze, looking straight into the girl's eyes. It is worth understanding what approximately they are both going to, no matter how scary it may be. The answer must be completely positive. Last night an incident occurred that made the man change his mind about the meeting. He ran out, rushing down the street, still looking around. There's a little ache in my chest because of a feeling that doesn't leave my body. Only over time did the hero realize that someone was watching him, even if he could not say who exactly. Still realizing that the man is standing right behind him, the brunette turns sharply back, hoping to catch him by surprise, but sees in front of him the very lady who sent the letters. Smiling, the girl greets the count. He did not answer her, even if it would have taken a few minutes at most, so no longer able to withstand the anxious pause, the maiden arrived to be together and get answers. Jumping to the side, the man is incredibly scared. Even without words, it becomes clear that you need to leave quickly. The count would have no real reason why he behaves this way. After the hero was surrounded, he still surrendered. The cafe where the couple arrived is surprisingly empty. It is difficult to find this person because he was hiding in such places. Without saying anything in response, the girl is silent for a while, and then again persistently asks what happened that Walton ran away so desperately, as if he knew no one. There is nowhere else to go. Miss was hoping for exactly that, because there was nothing left to lose. It became clear that every word would have to be pulled out as if with pincers. Looking straight into the Miss's eyes, the man promises to be honest. He wouldn't like to say something like that, but he just can't sign the divorce document. If this is done, Valton will fall out of favor with the Marquis, which will turn his back on him. For some time now, they have become close to the Esset family, but this will seem strange to the rest of society. Still, planning to bring the office to light, the beauty asks to confess whether Duval gave a bribe. She intends to write everything down and then use her methods to obtain a signature. Being in a serious mood, the interlocutor asks what the future wife lacks. Mr. is a very good and decent person who always does everything in the best possible way. Due to different views on the same situation, it will not be possible to reach an agreement. In this case, the beauty, as a member of the Laverans family, has no choice but to use her abilities. If the Count does not intend to speak amicably, he will understand that it was worth agreeing to just such conditions. Dark hands of forces envelop him, forcing him to scream and call for help. Everything was over, but the Crown Prince was the first to come running to help Seal. In a few seconds, he experienced the whole range of emotions because something could happen to the beauty. It seems that this time the heroine was so angry that she used something she shouldn't have. This is an abuse of one's powers. The young man is intimidated, and the same thing happened during the ceremony. Everything begins to swim before your eyes, and the words merge into one thing incomprehensible. Using something forbidden really exhausted my body and mind, forcing me to try not to fall to the ground. Sinking down onto a chair, the girl tries to stop trembling, hearing the man next to her asking her to walk with him. They still won't have a normal conversation, so there's no point in saying or doing anything. Nodding, the lady agrees. She plays for Valton, so she promises that she will find some other option that will be much better than the previous one that was chosen. The lady will find a way to get a divorce without a pathetic signature. There is no choice, but for some reason the confidence does not fail, causing a dangerous light to flicker in the eyes. Still afraid to remove his hand from his face, which serves as protection, the Count reminds that without a notary's signature, even the royal family cannot annul the marriage contract. Of course this is true, but not wanting to give away her weak points, the heroine gets up and leaves. The promise remains the same, because no matter what the brunette agrees, she will fulfill her mission. The girl was bluffing because without a signature there really is no way back. Ciel hoped to use her magic to get the coveted yes, but now she doesn't know, because Duval bribed the Count. Now, being in a completely calm and peaceful state, the girl understands that something could really happen to her. If it weren't for rhinos, there would be a lot of problems. Most likely, the man paid out of his own money just to get a firm position as a notary. A man would do anything for money, even though he owns a gold mine in the east. The servant, who entered the estate, interrupts the mistress, asking if she liked the information, although it could not be otherwise. He brought another envelope with something interesting. One day a woman approached him and asked him to divorce her reveler husband, who could not control himself. She didn't know what to do, so she did it as a last resort. The man was having an affair. He kept his relationship with her secret for a long time, but even after that, nothing stopped, and no matter how difficult it would be to admit, this is Count Valton. The young man's mistress was none other than Layla Esset. With horror, we have to understand that this is Duval's sister, which helps the puzzle to come together quite quickly, putting everything in its place. The most important thing in such matters is, of course, evidence. The miss checks with the servant and sees the artifact, which he holds out in the palm of his hand. Everything is visible there. The brunette hugs Layla, who sweetly asks if he loves her or his wife. Of course, Albusse's heart belongs to him, and if he had his way, he would have divorced long ago. After listening to a few more lines, the heroine's face changed, asking her to stop all this. She can no longer listen to such nonsense, which only irritates and makes her feel strange. No one deserves to be cheated on, no matter what. If Miss Esset and the Count were so connected with each other, it would be possible to blackmail him along with Duval. It will be much easier than it seemed at the very beginning. The couple, without knowing it, dug themselves a deep hole from which they would not be able to get out even if they wanted to. Leiter asks what else is needed, but receives only praise in response. The lady considers him the best employee and appreciates him, despite how rarely she says it, doing it out of necessity. The matter was resolved quite quickly. From this, we can conclude that the guild is growing and working well, since it can get everything it needs to get what it needs. The girl attended an event attended by the Count. A man with blonde hair crucifies, saying that today all the works on display are thanks to just one person. The reason the museum is presenting such valuable works is because of the investment that was made specifically for the exhibition that recently began. Duval was the one who helped, but now he pretends that he had nothing to do with it. He smiles, saying that anyone would do this, hoping that the public will begin to accept him more over time. Looking at the guests around, the lady notices one important detail. The Count looks directly and intently at Layla, who cannot take her eyes off him. They are in love, and it is immediately noticeable. Instantly, the cheeks begin to turn red, while he tries to maintain his image and clap. His wife stands behind with a sad expression on her face, as if she would cry at any moment. A young man with dark hair, sent from the guild, appears just in time. He quietly asks if the woman in front of him is Countess Valten, and she nods easily. An artifact falls into his hands, and then the man disappears from sight. By pressing the button, the lady brightens up the whole hall with a picture of a conversation between hugging lovers who don't care. The lady herself knew that these were not just rumors, as her husband ardently assured her, who accused her of mistrust. Unable to stand it any longer, and not finding the strength to stay, the Countess takes off, heading for the exit. After Arya has played her role, Ciel realizes that it is her turn. Everything should turn out in the best possible way if you try hard enough. The woman goes outside, trying to hold back the tears that are ready to flow. She shouldn't cry over someone so unworthy. It's all over now, and special for the Count. The brunette will no longer be able to see the man she once fell in love with every day. This behavior makes everything worse, so you should quickly go home to prepare for the divorce. Lady Laverance became the one who wanted to be close to Arya and talk about everything. She intends to find out the whole truth. There, in the museum, something terrible happened that cannot be forgotten. Even the Countess herself said that she had no desire to be with the man she once loved. Because of his behavior, his strength becomes insufficient. The lady was too tired after everything that had happened. Nobody knows, but the young man does not let his wife go, because after the divorce he cannot continue to be a count. He will return to the life of an ordinary person. The Count is truly a vile person who does not deserve attention. He will never confess even if all his sins become known, so he must be more cunning. The girl is only trying to say that you should immediately take control of everything. He will try to put pressure on weak points in order to stay with his own and not leave a warm place. If this happens, then the heroine herself will have to intervene. Arya is in danger, but just in case she will find her way out. The girl knows how to help. In fact, the lady wants to get Valten's signature, but she still feels sorry for the woman. She knows what it's like to be abandoned and betrayed by those you trust. That is why help in such a matter will help both, no matter how you look at it. Leaning closer to her new acquaintance, the girl asks to listen carefully and remember everything that was said. Duval, sitting in his office, thoughtfully rubs his chin. Once upon a time in his life, everything went wrong, but he himself cannot even answer the question of when exactly it happened and how long it will last, or how to fix it. Ciel has completely changed. Perhaps she was tired of the eternal antics of her future husband, but more importantly, the blonde guy came from somewhere and now follows the girl almost everywhere. Because of this young man, his wife gained some kind of self-confidence. Even a fool can see that they are happy. But this happened under circumstances hidden to society. No longer hoping to find an answer, the guy stands up abruptly, hoping that he will be able to restrain his emotions. A sister suddenly bursts into the room without explaining anything. She just screams, putting pressure on her nerves. The young man promised that there would be no problems. Of course, the Viscount's daughter is a simpleton, especially since Duval himself said so, but as it turned out, she has several trump cards up her sleeves. It is clear that the lady could not restrain herself and began to use prohibited methods. Now it's time to come up with a different plan for what can be done later. It immediately becomes clear that if the Count gets divorced, things will automatically go badly. We need to come up with something, but Ciel ruined literally everything she could. If the crystal that showed the projection at the meeting ends up in the government office, the Count will lose his position. This cannot be allowed, so it is worth taking it away. You need to try to use the same methods as them. If the Countess refuses to have an affair with another man, she will not be able to cause much trouble, because she herself is not innocent. The Count knows very well that Arya almost never leaves her room unless there is a reason for it. Even if she has no one, you can force the girl to find a partner on the side. Then the woman will not be able to blame her husband. The plan is terrible, especially for the innocent girl, but it's worth it because they will trap her into regretting what she was about to do. Arya signed the document the girl demanded to prove her case. After she becomes a countess, it will be possible to sign a divorce document for Ciel and Duval. This turned out to be quite enough. Apart from these papers, nothing else will be needed only because the heroine most of all wants to finally break off the engagement that is getting in the way. For now, the best thing to do would be to stay in safe territory, and that is Laveren's manor. Refusal is not even accepted because they both understand the importance of the situation. The woman owes a lot to her new savior, so she doesn't want to hang around her neck, but she insists on only 2 weeks, which is already a good amount. The girl herself plans to sort out all the affairs at exactly this time, so that the Countess can return home as quickly as possible, and everything will be over. The day is finally over. Some days are too difficult to get through, but in the end, everything ends well, because the beauty can go to bed, resting and relaxing. The heroine leans back on the bed, closing her eyes, which are no longer able to relax. Everything seems to be going well, exactly as it should be, but it's a little confusing to think that something is still missing. The only thought that is spinning in my head is Rhinos, whom I managed to completely accidentally forget about due to the huge number of tasks that fell unexpectedly. Everything had become too confusing, even with him. He agreed to go shopping with Laveren's for clothes, and then went to a meeting with the Count, but even so, the girl did not thank him properly. The man seems too sweet and kind, which makes you feel a certain trepidation when communicating with him. This cannot be changed, so you just have to admit it. The world is too cruel. It seems as if the blonde is condemning the girl, although if he were in her place, he would have acted in the same way and would not miss the opportunity to take advantage of someone to help himself and them. The boy seemed to have been fooled even too easily, which was a little embarrassing. He didn't quite understand how the world worked, so it was worth explaining everything. The dream disappeared almost instantly. The lady understands that she cannot live with the feeling that she owes something to someone because it will simply eat her up. First, it was decided to find out if the dragon needed any help, and then try to make it a reality. I would like to be as helpful as possible. Opening the window, the lady almost immediately stumbles upon a piece of paper wrapped in an envelope, which falls right on the windowsill before flying right in front of her face. Quickly running her eyes over the written lines, the beauty reads carefully, and then grins. The person does not think exactly the same as she does, but this can be corrected. Every day goes the same way, but there is still progress in the business. It's hard not to notice that the Countess is getting prettier day by day, as if she's starting to blossom after a drought. There was nothing to expect, because everything was more than logical. A husband like the Count is more like a burden that serves no good purpose. Divorce will definitely be beneficial. However, according to the information that the lady read in the evening, something terrible will happen on that day. This was planned in advance, and to protect themselves, they should use everything they know. There is no point in worrying in any case. This is the castle of Laveren's, and the maiden is its owner. She promises to take care of the Countess's safety to the last. As expected, 2 men Valton hired arrived during the night, but when they opened the door and pulled off the blanket, they found no one. Greatly surprised that the mission was not going as it should. Trying to understand what happened, the 2 look at the bed, which is completely unrumpled, as if no one had ever slept on it. The Count's ex-wife almost disappeared somewhere. Hearing a voice behind them, they turn, noticing Miss Seal. She frowns, asking what there is to look for here. The timing is not right, so it would be worth it to disappear. Most likely the mercenaries came all the way just to die. The lady understands without words, so she releases her power, which envelops those running away in dark spots. The door was locked so that the victims could not even think about their escape, which would not be possible. They fall to the floor, trying to back away from whatever is hitting them. The Laveren's family's ability is truly frightening if one does not remain on good terms with everyone who possesses it. They understand that the end is near. It's time to have some fun, so there's no choice left. The young men managed to escape, but none of them even remembered how exactly it happened. Discussing only how much the Count had betrayed them, the couple did not even notice how the same force descended on them again. He promised that the girl would not become a hindrance. Trying to escape, the men scatter, but nothing helps because instead of energy, a stream of arrows falls on them, which they do not even want to stop. There is no limit to surprise, only because each time seems like the last, especially for those who have never seen anything like this. They don't know that everything comes from an ancient artifact that recorded everything. No one even thought about the fact that the dark corridors are fraught with many surprises that cannot be forgotten or avoided. The guys themselves regretted it. A terrible idea came to mind. Everyone who was involved in this must be punished, but most of all the Count, who decided to accuse his wife of adultery through the use of force. Valten will get something more important and memorable. The lesson will help him understand that every action has its consequences that cannot be reversed. Summoning Cerberus, the Virgin notices that he responds with some special adoration that is impossible not to notice. She just can't get used to such a strange manifestation. Members of the Laverans family come from a line of warriors who fought the dragon and have special powers. They are known to be able to summon and use evil souls. Such things happen often, and souls obey only this family. But like everything, it has its drawbacks. The labyrinth expends too much energy, which is literally devoured. This power is the main cause of Ciel's illness. Because of this, both body and mind weaken, and if something happens, the labyrinth will swallow the girl. Rhinos is not in vain to worry because he should be careful. The Virgin called Cerberus to pull those two who had arrived out of consciousness. Only an hour has passed, but it already seems that everything is about to get worse due to the overload that is happening. Realizing that she is not being fully listened to, the lady points her finger at him, again ordering him to do what she asks, but in an angrier tone from fatigue and pain. After the guys were taken out, everything became completely different. They did not answer the question about customers, but only because they could not find the right words after the place they had visited. If the answer is nothing, then you should pull yourself together and go back to the labyrinth. The beauty sees no other way out but this one. Sitting at the bar, the Count expects that everything is already over. If Arya had listened to her husband from the very beginning, nothing would have happened. All the dirty methods could have been removed, but nothing happened. Such a dirty method was not what should be used. However, the mission was successfully completed. Now the wife will not be able to testify against her own husband. The thought didn't even have time to pass through his thoughts when the door swung open and two guards from the palace headed towards the Count, who froze in horror. The man has been arrested. He protests, trying to remind him who he is, but is told that he's suspected of intimidation and other crimes that are punishable. He is taken out, even despite fierce resistance from the outside. Looking through the window, two girls remember how everything was before, because now they are finally free. Everything will continue because Ciel promises revenge. This isn't quite the end for her, as the signature is still pending, but the time she has to wait won't last too long. Having accidentally heard a phrase about what follows next, the Countess quietly asks her friend what it was, to which she simply shrugs it off. She understands that she doesn't need to know this. They are obliged to make those who have affairs on the side suffer without caring about their women, who probably also have feelings that work that way. People who do not intend to do anything to others must experience the cruelty of the world around them. They don't deserve to be happy after what they did. The Count, sitting in the cell, thinks that it was a mistake, cursing his wife, but he himself does not notice how she approaches the bars. Realizing that this is his last chance, he rushes forward. A nasty smile hides behind a remorseful face. He knew that the woman would come because it couldn't even be otherwise. It becomes clear what exactly we are talking about. Starting to beg, the guy asks to pay the guards so that he can be released on bail. He said that he would give them as much as they wanted, but now there is not a penny because he is in the cell. The silence drags on for several minutes, and then the brunette, with a cold expression on her face, says that they need to get a divorce. There is no desire to live with a traitor. The incident that happened was not a pure coincidence, as Valten himself says. All evidence will be handed over to the government office, and things will already be collected. Everything will end exactly the same way it began. The lady hands over a piece of paper on which it is written that the property will be transferred to Count Laverans instead of the brunette who fell. The title, Lands and Castle, will remain with the Countess, and the gold mine will also remain for her ex-husband. Hearing about the mine, he desperately grabs the paper. The woman is too stupid to seriously leave gold to a man. He doesn't suspect that it could be a trap, so he asks where he will need to sign. This will be more than enough. The title does not matter because with a gold mine, a wife will no longer be needed. Life will get better. Laverin steps out of the shadows, looking at the prisoner with contempt. Arya admits that her friend was right about her ex-husband, who was so easily led. Smiling, the girl congratulates the guy on becoming the owner of a large number of debts that were transferred through a signature on paper. Not believing what was said, the young man laughs. The girl said that she was handing over the entire mine, and everything was written down in the document. There was no talk about debts. The woman does not react at all, only lowering herself to pick up the piece of paper from the floor that the Count had pushed through the bars. It must not fall back into his hands. This is why the Virgin congratulated the young man. Besides everything else, the debts now also belong to him, so after prison he will pay them off. The heroine borrowed a huge amount, and now it needs to be repaid. Without delaying things too much, the mine will be sold tomorrow to pay for the Laverin's family. Not wanting to listen to the whining and screaming, the lady turns to Arya, suggesting that they leave the place before the guy becomes hysterical, since he lost everything so quickly. Turning around, they both head out, only hearing quiet cries and the way the man begs to listen to him, even after everything he's done. Help was quite important, especially for the Countess who had lost the right path, which now needs to be built anew. It's great that Valton showed his true colors. Despite the fact that everything was initially started just to get some pathetic signature, the girl is still sincerely happy for her new friend. Miss is truly the best at finding and solving problems. It's time to leave this place, but before making a decision, the beauty offers to stay at her house for another day. The words don't have time to come out of my mouth because my head starts to feel very dizzy. The heroine is trying to stay on her feet, but everything is swimming before her eyes. There is no more strength to hold back. No matter how difficult the fight, Seal loses, so she falls to the asphalt, not hearing Arya desperately calling her. The eyes suddenly open. There seems to be a buzz all around, although in reality it's all just in my head. The beauty looks around, trying to find someone nearby. May joyfully rushes to her mistress. She spent several days in bed, so everyone around was very worried about her condition. I can't believe it's been so long since everything happened. The head is spinning, as if it was hit with something heavy, and even more than once. This is all a side effect of using the horror maze. The Countess, who has been trying to get into the chambers for several days now, is screaming outside the door. The girl promises that she will take care of Layla, who is trying to scream to be heard. The heroine needs a good rest, and not to fray her nerves as much as possible. Even a fool will understand that the girl arrived because of the fine that she received after everything that happened. She got off lightly, but not entirely. The girl was falsely accused of having an affair with someone else, even if it was true. And even if she couldn't handle it, she still had to pay 1 million gold. Despite the decent earnings, the amount is huge. The lady thinks too slowly and poorly, so she even begins to irritate. Even Ciel would no longer try to do anything because the artifact proved everything. What happened will lead to the bankruptcy of 3 generations, which is why she is trying so hard to do something. In fact, it is her fault, so there is no point in it. Sinking back onto the bed and closing her eyes, the girl hopes to get some sleep, but then notices a shadow out of the corner of her eye. The eyes widen in horror. The prince appears before his eyes, looking gloomily without any emotion. In reality, this most likely wouldn't happen, since he is usually kind to everyone around him. The man hastily asks for forgiveness because he didn't really want to come in and ruin everything with his presence. He did it anyway, no matter what. The blonde blushes slightly, but tries to pull himself together because he came for a completely different occasion. I would like to clarify the misunderstanding that occurred. Most likely it's just a dream. The girl had been thinking about the guy all day, so now he appeared at night to provide an opportunity to talk again. Realizing that there is nothing to be afraid of, just as there is nothing to be embarrassed about, the beauty pats the place next to her with her palm. She offers to sit down. The face turns even more red. Turning away, the blonde tries to say that this is not the best idea, but no one, of course, listens to him. The Virgin pretends that she didn't hear, but she is again told that there is no time. The hero came just to make sure that the lady was okay, so he decides not to stay. The man is in his girlfriend's dream, so he must obey. She makes sad eyes asking why he can't be closer, so he eventually gives in and sits on the bed. To be clear, the young man expresses that he had no shameful intentions. He was just worried, so he says again that he came specifically to check. Bowing his head like a guilty kitten, the blonde asks if he scared the young lady. He didn't want things to turn out differently than planned. The young man appeared as if out of nowhere. Her room is on the 3rd floor, which makes you ask even more questions than before, because it is quite high. Obviously, in a girl's dreams, the guy is able to overcome anything. He arrived, so there are no other explanations and cannot be. The lady doesn't even realize that this is the real world. Blinking her eyes in surprise, the girl asks if what he said is true. She can't believe it, but in reality anything can happen. His Highness is not a wizard, but still has some of his own ways to move through the air. Making eyes at her, the lady asks to tell the whole truth. Getting up from her place, the heroine expects a miracle, but in response she hears a refusal. At the moment, what we have planned cannot be translated into reality. There is no answer because it is not entirely logical. It's quite strange to explain, but perhaps at another time, it could be done more successfully than on that particular day. The girl begins to scream to be shown the flight, while swaying as if she would fall very soon. There is nothing left to do but try to stop her. Unable to stand it any longer, the guy grabs Mrs. Hand, asking her to stop, because he promises that he will show everything. Obviously, there was no choice left as such anyway. This was not true. The young man turned into a dragon but did not fly. He didn't have that ability per se, even if he should have. The girl likes dragons, so she promises that she won't run away. Nothing bad should happen, so we just have to wait and see what happens. Virgo dreamed of seeing a dragon, or even better, seeing his transformation, since childhood. The young man crouches down to make it a reality, and nothing more is asked of him. In the original, the dragon was described as something terrible. A dark mist enveloping Rhinos' body, spreading until Rhinos razed the imperial castle to the ground. After the thunderous roar of the dragon was heard in the book, a terrible end came for all life around. Instead of observing something scary, the girl notices something dark, and then a baby dragon emerges from under her shirt, looking very young. This is exactly what an evil dragon looks like when it turned out to be too cute. The sounds he makes in agreement are even cuter than himself. Many people lost their lives because of the animal, because it was merciless in attacking people. A huge number were among the victims, but now the baby is cuddling with his hands. Virgo asks if she can touch him, and only after the question she remembers that the hero cannot speak. She puts her hand to her head. The heroine asks to demonstrate how to make fire, acid, and even ice. She then picks up the pet and asks if he wants to be thrown into the air. Trying to escape, the baby makes loud noises and runs away at the same time. He did not regard this situation as a joke, so he was seriously scared. After everything that happened, my head began to spin. This made Ciel lie down on the bed and fall asleep, not even noticing how the morning came, which crept up unnoticed. The tourist destinations in the south are incredibly beautiful. An elderly couple has been relaxing there for several weeks, drinking tea and enjoying each other. This was not the first time they had thought about what they could do before they returned. The couple planned to hold their daughter's wedding in the best possible way. The girl laughs. She can't wait to see her daughter in a wedding dress with the groom they chose for her earlier. Laverans will finally succeed. After the wedding, all the wealth will belong to Gerald, who deserves it most of all. A start has been made, so the lady suggests deciding on a date while it is still possible. I would like to tell everything as soon as possible so that my son warns the academy management. The wedding of your only sister is no joke. Parents will return very soon, but preparations must begin without their participation in order to get everything done. The pigeon with the mail arrived at the most opportune moment. Reading the note, the couple's expression changes, and they exclaim in surprise when they see that the lady has filed for divorce. Tyrael was taken to the castle estate. She is looking forward to meeting Duval, because she is not the first person to know that the divorce has already been approved, and the couple is not connected in any way. Duval is most likely incredibly happy. If everything goes according to plan, they will be able to celebrate their engagement very soon. You need to choose an outfit for the event. Opening the door, the maiden runs towards her lover, but he coldly glares at her. reminding her that she came to him without any proposal from the Count. The blonde guiltily lowers her eyes to the floor. She didn't want anything bad because she just recently heard that she broke up with Seal. All the words turned out to be a blatant lie. There will be no engagement because this was not what the Count himself wanted. This was to get Laverin's attention and make her jealous. The words hit home directly. According to the man, the lady was just a useful thing that was used. When the show ended, she lost all need. The girl can't believe it. They confessed their love to her, but it turned out that from the very beginning, Esset planned to leave her, remaining faithful to Ciel despite all his adventures. The girl begs to be given another chance. Be that as it may, she will definitely be able to replace the beauty, because she will do everything in her power to become like her. The scream echoes through the room like thunder. This cannot be true, because no one will ever be able to compare with the ex-fiancé who was special. Nothing can be fixed, and the Count will never love the maiden who continues to pester him. He doesn't want to continue a pointless conversation like this. As he prepares to leave, the man tells his servant to never let this lady into the estate again. She will try to get in, but you just have to follow orders. The prince, who brought the maiden for a walk, asks her about her well-being. She's almost completely recovered from what happened, but she's still worried. The young man is happy that everything has become better than before. The last time they saw each other was when they met Valton, so such a statement raises questions. The guy stops. He doesn't even let you ask anything, quickly placing his hand on his acquaintance's forehead. The fever seemed to have subsided, allowing her to feel able to walk. The last time they saw each other was in a dream. This doesn't quite count, but then the little dragon stayed with Ciel, who almost fell asleep herself, asked for it. The heroine is very glad that she managed to cope with such a problem. She blushed again, as if the illness had returned, but the embarrassment was very easy to hide. After so much time, the beauty is incredibly happy to meet the young man, whom she admitted to missing. Everything was moving too slowly, which meant it was time for the next step. This was all justified by the reason that you want to be close. The blonde leans over, being very close to the lady, who backs away a little. Taking possession of the maiden's hand, the man asks to accept a gift from him. A bracelet with beautiful purple stones matching the color of strength will be designated as a gift in honor of a divorce. The girl is incredibly happy, but admits that it is not yet the time to behave like this. She just recently became free and doesn't want to do anything wrong. Things aren't any better with Tyrael. The guy has several interfering problems, and even if it is Duval, something like this will take quite a long time, which will allow the romance to drag on. That is why the hero would like to protect his relationship with the beauty as best as possible. They entered into an agreement, so even this is quite possible. The girl promises that she will make every effort to restore the engagement with Puratina. If this was decided in the palace, do not forget what needs to be done. The reason for the meeting was not only the extension of the contract. A man extends an invitation to the upcoming Crimson Moon Festival. The Laverin's family contributes greatly to the empire, but the heroine completely forgot that the festival is so soon. With everything going on, it completely slipped my mind. The Crimson Moon appears only twice a year, in winter and summer. This is a rather beautiful phenomenon that cannot be described in words, even after seeing it. Many people say that because of this, the dragon's strength increases. It was a nightmare when evil first appeared, and it pissed people off and made them afraid. This is why the imperial family makes a sacrifice every Crimson Moon to make everything as good as possible, and ask the dragon not to run amok. At the same time, the emperor organizes a festival. It could have been avoided, but this is in order to distract and calm people who are already very worried. This is exactly how every year went, which did not change each time, because everything went according to plan. In the same year, Rhinos should turn into an evil dragon who will raze everything to the ground. In the original, Tyrael was next to the man, so he managed to cope and prevent trouble, but this time everything happens completely differently. The guy asks if everything is okay, again saying that it's better to go. He does not suspect that his beloved is making a plan to reunite the prince with his bride. While signing the contract, the lady tries to casually ask about the presence of the future king at the festival. He better not even go out during the Crimson Moon. The young man did not think about what he wanted to do. In any case, he decided that he would go no matter what, because a date under the moon felt somehow different. Noticing that Miss continues to be worried because the event is closely connected with the dragon, the hero promises to take care of everything, looking into his eyes. Approaching, Rhinos takes the hand of his interlocutor in his palm. He smiles, trying to instill confidence, asking if she will go with him, receiving the answer, yes. People around look around because they are all looking intently at the prince's awards. He's not even going to take them off, despite the lady's awkwardness. The girl also gave me embroidery, which you don't even have to worry about. She did this in exchange for a bracelet, not thinking that her friend would attach importance. This is more than enough. The lady herself no longer knows whether she is worried too much or not. Perhaps this is all because of the medicine that was discussed earlier. The young man tried to control himself, so he took the medicine every time. It was this that helped him control the power of the evil dragon that lurks inside. So far so good, but a shout from the side attracts attention. The show will start very soon. A special event is expected at the festival. This performance will be called The Legend of the Evil Dragon. It is quite popular, but those who have never been to it should definitely go. The girl tries to answer the man, but the people who are jostling to buy tickets literally squeeze her between their bodies. This is incredibly disruptive. To catch the show, you have to hurry, and this couple was able to buy tickets in time. It was a mistake to sit in such rows. The beginning began quite normally. Every time the evil dragon had a lover, and that's where the whole story began, in the theater. A selfish girl wanted to take over the world using the power of a dragon, but something went wrong. Nothing ended well for her. People rebelled against the heroine. It became clear almost immediately that the girl decided to take over the world and fool everyone, even if nothing worked out. After that, people killed her. After this, the dragon went mad and killed the emperor. It seemed to the lady that the story would be about the heroism of a family that overcame evil. But this is about a story of love of the heart. In the end, 5 brave warriors united against the dragon, and before he died, the dragon sent a curse. Arzentine was cursed forever. The name remains forever in the history of the Arzentine family. Because they killed the love of the animal, he cursed all the descendants, and this has been going on for more than 1,000 years. The lady wonders if a dragon would love his beloved for 1,000 years. History is gaining momentum that cannot be changed. Such love would never fade away. They are quite loyal, so perhaps this kind of caring is the best, even for Ciel. The virgin dreamed of a golden dragon who pleasantly rested his head on his shoulder. The touches were familiar, so the beauty jumped up, asking the prince to stop. The guy thought that his companion had an evil dream, so he just took her hand. No one thought that it would hurt the heroine so much, who reacted like that. After it was all over, the couple found themselves on the street, about to leave the city. Rhinos asks if the show was that boring. The lady dozed off for only a minute, which was already an indicator. In fact, she is jealous and envious of that maiden from the story, because the animal loved only her. Perhaps the story was worked out to change the plot completely. In fact, the beauty did not even have thoughts of taking over the world. The man had already opened his mouth to say something or to encourage the girl, but Esset came out of the shadows. He was looking for a couple and finally found them to meet. The guy spent too much effort to meet, but it's strange. They had separated for a long time, so even he had no topics for conversation. Looking down at the floor, Duval thinks for a second. The ex-fiancé is right, because they really had no common ground. The matter was addressed to Rhinos himself, not to his wife. It was because of this person that everything went wrong, so it is best to talk in private. The young man behaves inappropriately, grabbing the blonde man's collar. He ruined everything, so the heroine tries to stop it. The prince says they can leave. His Majesty is not afraid of the Count, even if he had some certain power. He always has a second backup plan no matter what happens. The lady promises that she will wait in the same place, asking you to be careful. Stepping aside, the blonde man, remaining calm, asks about the topic of conversation. Noticing that the beauty is very close, that she can even listen to what is happening nearby, the young man suggests moving on to a safer distance. Laughing, Duval recalls the day the couple arrived at the store with clothes. Then Ciel most likely bought clothes not for herself, but for a new guy. It's unpleasant when someone gets in the way of achieving your goal. The young man offers to give money so that Rhinos will leave Miss Laveren's alone for her new husband. The moon has already appeared, so the forces are released more easily. The young man's eyes turn red, and he falls to the ground, continuing to breathe heavily. The hero understood perfectly well what exactly the guy wanted to get, but even so, he would not allow anyone to be close to Ciel, since she is only his and for him. If the blonde wants it himself, he can easily finish off Duval, but he has to endure someone like him because Ciel is quite vulnerable. If the lady is upset because her ex-groom is missing, this will also ruin his mood, so the hero orders him to get up from the ground. Submitting even against his will, the handsome man appears staring at one point. This will be the last chance they give, so he must leave as quickly as possible. The young man will return back to the girl and pretend as if nothing happened. An even better option would be for him to immediately go to his estate. Now the problem was solved, and quite quickly, which seemed strange. The moon shines more than ever, causing the prince to tremble a little. The young man had to use only a little of his strength, but even during this time everything managed to float, although you can always use the medicine in your pocket. The girl looks around. Most likely Duval had already lost and, as usual, staged something like the true villain that he was. In any case, even a girl understands that there is no need to worry about such a character. As soon as he gets what he deserves once, he will calm down a little. For some reason, the excitement still makes me think about what is happening there. Most likely, this is due to the fact that there is deathly silence around, broken by birds. Perhaps something has already happened, so the lady takes off, screaming Renos's name. She hopes everything is okay and they didn't end up in a fight. Coming out onto the path, the heroine looks around, noticing almost no one, and is surprised. She was sure that the couple had gone in that direction. Walking even further, Ciel notices His Majesty's clothes. The shirt lies on the ground just like the pants, and this has only one meaning. Kneeling down, the heroine carefully checks everything, hoping that everything is in order. A familiar shadow appears on the side, which makes the beauty shrink into a ball. It's impossible for the dragon to wake up. Everything has gone too far, which is incredibly frightening even for a prepared person. I want to believe only in the best. Turning around, the heroine hears a sound that she had already heard in her dream. She notices a dragon the size of her palm, who blushes slightly. Of course, there were no doubts, which almost instantly disappeared, because Rhinos himself, who was so familiar, appeared before the heroine. Miss arrived back home. The servants ask in surprise what happened, because she went on a date and returned smeared and covered in leaves. May tries to ask something, noticing men's clothes in her hands, and dirty ones at that. In order not to answer, the girl runs into the room, assuring as she goes that she did not even hold hands. Normal dates end with a kiss. The maid does not want to hear, shouting after him that the men have become completely different from how it was before. The girl was almost caught. The clothes blocked the young man's access to the world, because that was the only way to bring him inside. It was terribly uncomfortable. The baby crawls out from under his shirt, making plaintive sounds. He didn't think it would work out this way because he initially hoped to remain human. There were too many questions, even if there were no answers. To begin with, it would be worth addressing the situation that has developed so that there are no further consequences. Since Rhinos can't speak when he remains in this form, he can write. Extending her hand, the lady assures that everything will be fine. Waiting for the pet to finish writing, Laverance accepts the paper, realizing that if he kisses his lover, the spell will subside. There is no time for disassembly. This can be postponed until the young man transforms back. This does not mean that you should try to do everything as quickly as possible without even thinking about all the consequences. This is not the main problem. After the guy did not have time to take the medicine, he dropped it and it broke. Surely it's worth sending a letter to the palace. Desperately grabbing the pen, the kid quickly explains that he must not tell anyone. No one knows that the prince remains conscious when he turns into an evil dragon. Even the emperor is not aware of what exactly is happening to his son. They all know the information that is provided in the ancient books, but nothing more than that. For some reason, the baby is different from the example that was given in books a long time ago. No one could give a logical answer to this, and it is a secret. Uncontrolled aggression is also not true. Until the crimson moon comes, the guy can transform freely without any problems. In the current situation, he doesn't even have a normal place to sleep. The day is too long and too tired, so we need to find a way out. The girl doesn't even think for more than a second. Since no one knows what will happen next, the boy can stay overnight at her estate. The dragon is surprised. The muzzle instantly turns red, making it clear emotions, but this is quite logical. A friend cannot leave a person without a roof over his head. If the baby remains in the castle, nothing will threaten him, and besides, if something happens, the heroine will also be able to protect His Majesty. Seal wants to say something else, but is interrupted by May's voice, who knocks to ask if she can pick up the laundry. She's about to come in. The lady hears screams and how the mistress asks not to enter, but instead she breaks in, noticing a strange, dark-colored lizard in her arms, which is trying to hide. Looking amazed at the baby flying in the air, the girl quietly asks where a lizard with wings came from on the estate, especially such a cute one. This animal is supposed to be tame, but instead of succumbing to the woman's caresses, the dragon hits her hand with its tail. He himself is cute, but his character makes you want only the best. He seems to be a little aggressive, but in order to protect the prince, the girl tries to say that there is obedience. The little dragon immediately climbs into the heroine's arms as soon as she calls him. It seems that the baby knows who is boss in the house, so he behaves appropriately. Changing her face almost instantly, May promises that she will come by later as soon as she needs something. It's obvious that rhinos use some kind of spell. Now it's all over, so it's obvious that we should still wait for the guests. It won't work that way, so the lady suggests not writing on paper anymore. It would be best to use signs, as this will allow you to encrypt everything that is said, leaving the best. Rhinos immediately tries it out, making his first attempts at drawing gestures on his palm. This way, they can communicate outside the room. It's time for sleep. The baby will be able to sleep in the next room, which is intended for guests. There is a very comfortable bed, so it is suitable even for a person. Laying the dragon on the bed, the beauty finds a blanket, promising that she will cover him now. In response, many sounds are heard that sound too plaintive. According to the young man, it is clear that he would like to sleep next to the girl who is about to leave. That's impossible, no matter how incredibly sweet Rhinos is. No longer wanting to listen to the words that literally begged the girl, she leaves the room, tightly closing the door behind her. Any more and she would have given up. Morning came quickly. The beauty woke up quite early, but from the very morning she began to think about the prince and how he slept and what he would eat. About to go in to check on the guest, the lady goes out into the corridor, but is stopped by one of the servants. She received an urgent letter from the southern lands, sent by the Marquis. It was the father who notified his daughter that he and Elizabeth were returning. If the heroine does not mend her relationship with Count Esset, he will remove her. This attitude was very annoying. Now the family was doing well, even without the support of Esset, who was simply like a burden. In any case, the father did not even try to understand anything. He wanted money, so despite all his affairs, he vehemently tried to sell his daughter. Of course, one can predict that the parents will say that this is for the benefit of Seal herself, but she is not so stupid as to believe in such tales. The age is no longer the same. It doesn't even take much intelligence to understand the Count's intentions. He just wants to get rid of his daughter. There are plans to pass the title on to his son, but giving up is not an option. That is why the lady works like hell to make money. None of the family knows what the beauty does. So she continues, she needs to try to get everything she needs. The little dragon sadly listens to everything that was said from the very beginning. Flying closer, he presses against your shoulder, trying to support you. Sometimes this even happens. People think that their abilities seem many times better and that everything is fine, but they realize that they are marking time. It is moments like these in life that make the beauty think that all her efforts have become in vain. The kid can no longer listen to all this, so he tries to take his friend's hand to show something with gestures. The sign of new opportunities is usually hidden like some kind of secret. Perhaps this is a chance to make up for lost time, so Ciel shouldn't be so upset. Smiling, the girl strokes the prince's head. What he said was exactly what she needed so badly. Noticing that the baby begins to yawn, the girl looks into his eyes with concern. She's sorry she had to keep him from sleeping. Promising that she will take him to the room, the girl almost hears crying. This behavior indicates that he wants to stay with her. This time, knowing exactly what needs to be done, the dragon begins to make eyes. This can be called a prohibited technique. Sighing heavily, the beauty finally nods. Laverins decided that the prince would stay with her overnight for just one day. Sleep came quite quickly. The heroine falls asleep, not suspecting that the dragon remained nearby, looking at her eyes, which are closed. Flying up to the table, the baby carefully writes something on the paper, and then flies out the open window that Ciel left. Very soon the young man will return. He doesn't know when this will happen, but he is sure that everything will happen at the right time for both of them. The next morning, the lady was upset. The man is not one of those who would disappear for no reason, but it is still sad. At least he said goodbye properly. Everything will be fine. It's a pity that the hero didn't say exactly when he plans to return, but even such a separation will not be completely unbearable. This is how the almost endless days began to drag on, which seemed too long. The lady is worried about the king. The morning began as usual, except for the maids, who from the very beginning reminded that there would be a festival on the same day. At the festival, a lady should not be alone, and she should also wear a stunning outfit. May has already decided everything for her mistress. It's strange that the girl doesn't like it, because the maid thought that the gentleman had already made an invitation. You still have to go. It's all a little complicated, but it's hard to admit it because no one knows the truth. He has absolutely no experience. The girl lights up with that same spark. She asks her friend to get up so that they can go there for showdowns and preparations. Trying to resist, the heroine says something against her, but of course no one listens to her. She understands that everything was in vain. After everything the maid did, there were noticeable changes. Miss Ciel had finally arrived after everything that had happened. Laveren's had always been extraordinarily beautiful, but on such days she especially shone like a bright star. As soon as the lady entered the hall, they immediately began to whisper behind her back. She came because she broke off her engagement to the Count. Perhaps it was Esset's decision, so the lady will be left with nothing. She doesn't care what they say about her. Duke Ashlet Abshelkt is asked to greet next. People have never heard of anyone like this. Even the main character herself has never heard of anyone like this. But for some reason, she now looks at the dark-haired man. The man almost immediately goes to the girl, who looks in surprise. He greets Ciel first. Bowing her head, the beauty talks about how pleased she is to meet him, and also says which family she belongs to. The Duke asks to speak in private. He had dreamed about this for a long time, so he reincarnated to get to the festival. There is only one question left for Miss Laveren's. I can't believe she didn't even manage to find a partner. She decided to go alone. The heroine would like to go with someone and even planned it, but in the end, nothing worked out. Didn't get the chance. The Duke wants to ask who the lady was going to go with, but she doesn't say anything. Everything points only to the bracelet on the wrist. He looks a lot like Ashlet. They were supposed to go to a festival, but after that he just disappeared without even saying anything. The girl is about to leave, but the brunette stops her. It's difficult, but he was supposed to be a partner for the evening. Not immediately understanding what is happening, the young lady gets in the way. But then she is asked to look into the eyes. There is nothing to be afraid of anymore. For some reason, this is incredibly awkward. Initially, she was going to go with the prince, but not with the Duke. It's still hard to believe. The young man asks for forgiveness for the disappearance and for the way in which he met the girl. The hero himself promises to never hide anything again, so that everything will always be fine. Trust is the most important thing. Still not understanding exactly how this happened, the beauty still succumbs to feelings and leans closer to His Highness. The eyes suddenly open. A floral aroma fills the lungs, making it clear that this is a prince. He always had the same one. Only after a while did the girl realize that this was an old acquaintance. She breaks down, starting to ask where he has been for so long. Of course, the heroine was worried. He dared to disappear without saying anything, not allowing her to even sleep normally because of his excitement. Even if the lady looked calm, it didn't mean she didn't care. I no longer have the strength to stand quietly on the sidelines. Virgo does not believe that she is being asked to calm down even after everything that happened to them. She wishes it weren't true. Since this happens, the guy himself stops the beauty, intercepting her hand so that she does not try to fight. Now the young man is nearby, which allows me to worry less. Realization comes too late because the lady almost harmed the crown prince. It might be better to just fall through the ground. Even death will not be enough to beg forgiveness for such an insult. Various thoughts flash through my head. The more the beauty thinks about it, the more she wants to say goodbye to life. Anyone who is rude to the imperial family will be punished. Trying not to look into the eyes, the girl clarifies. There is no other choice but to accept fate, but the heroine still tries to assure that she did not intend to offend anyone. This, of course, is not true, and even Rhinos himself understands that he cannot punish someone who could not sleep a wink due to excitement. The girl's face turns slightly red. With the change in appearance also came changes in character that she liked. I don't want to say the wrong thing, but it's worth admitting that the young man has really changed a lot. They both think so. Miss Seal is happy, which is why the young man always tries to help her in this way, no matter what. After all, he has no choice. You can cope in this state alone, but being together is always better and much easier than being alone. The girl looks fascinated at the man standing in front of her. It seems he has changed too much, even in his statements. Extending his hand, the young man invites Ciel to quickly return back to the hall, so as not to attract too much unnecessary attention to himself. People around are still looking around and whispering when they see Miss Laverins, who follows deeper into the hall. The guys are smiling. They were just about to approach her, so this seems like a pleasant coincidence. Everyone around me was wrong. The girl seemed very much like a beauty, but her golden hair spoiled the whole image. Tyrael is sure that she saw in which direction the heroine was heading, but now she is afraid that she missed her friend. Finally, after a long search, the lady notices the beauty standing next to Ashlet and talking. Getting closer a second later, the lady runs up to tell Ciel how much she wanted to talk to her. It didn't even take a second to realize that her former friend had the exact same dress as Laverins. Tyrael remembered very well that ill-fated day, which was similar to all the others. He was sad, rainy, and hungry. The place where the maiden lived was just as dull. Living in slums is a real nightmare from which there is no escape. In fact, if a new friend had not happened, the lady would not have known how to live. She had a strong desire to finish everything. All this happened until that very ray of light appeared in the blonde's life that illuminated the road. It was Ciel who invited the maiden to go with her. She took her to help her get better. The girl helped to get out of the slums, which had almost swallowed up an unprepared and weak body. The heroine was very different, even from everyone else equal to her in status. Puratina was even afraid to compare her with herself. The beauty knew who she was, so she was accordingly very confident in herself, like no one else. She knew what to do. This even manifested itself externally. The lady got such a famous and rich groom who was so different. The girl, although grateful, always remained aloof. She would like to be like her friend. First, the lady began to select hairpins and all sorts of hairstyles. Then she began to look for the same groom. She became a copy, but did not become one. Now Tyrael stands opposite Laverins, who obviously hated her because of everything she managed to do without noticing it. The girl examines a former friend. Absolutely everything is wrong with her now. Coming to the ceremony at the royal palace in the same attire is ignorance. The blonde didn't seem bothered at all. She came to talk not about her copy, but about something else. Reaching out and trying to grab the lady's hand, the girl tries to ask her to talk normally. Previously, they always discussed all issues in private, so with madness in her eyes, the lady asks them to repeat this at least once more. People around begin to whisper again. No one understands what exactly is in Puritina's head. To escape the rumors and whispers, you need to go as far as possible, so the lady agrees. The prince offers to go with her, but this is out of the question. Tyrael is incapable of harming anyone. Everything is fine. Smiling, the beauty tries to make amends for her guilt. As soon as they finish, you can immediately return to dancing. If something happens, the lady will try to use her abilities to help, and if anything happens, she will call for help. Turning to her ex-friend, the lady says that they can go to the porch. An unhealthy light lights up in the eyes. Girlfriends go outside. The wind hits your face almost instantly with enormous force, making it impossible to stay on your feet. The maiden even had the same jewelry. Noticing the look, she straightens her hair to demonstrate. Trying to contain his anger or ridicule, Laverins still asks what is going on. Things have become too confusing lately. Obviously, we are talking about the dress the blonde came in. According to her, she had to try hard to finally get him without any problems. The girl went around all the shops where the Duchess might have been. She wanted everything to be perfect. I remembered that Laverins had said that she would only buy one dress, so it was not easy to find an outfit that would fit. In the end, the efforts were not in vain. Such similarity helped to delight, but only Tyrael herself. This kind of obsession begins to frighten. The girl steps back, still noticing an unhealthy shine in her eyes. Something is definitely wrong. According to the girl, they are closer than ever before. Others also found them similar. The girl begins to almost become hysterical. She understands that she made a huge mistake, but wants to return everything to the way it was before. Tyrael is talking nonsense. She made the lady very angry because of what happened with Esset, but she assures that she had nothing to do with it. Apart from CL, her ex-girlfriend has no one left. She understands this very well, so of course she asks for it. Trying to move away, the lady realizes that she was grabbed by the arm. She pulls it towards herself, almost tearing the bracelet into 2 parts. The girl never understood her lesson. After everything she had done and said, she suddenly wanted to return everything to the way it had been between them before. She was the one who ruined a friendship that had lasted so long. Now the blonde is just worried about her situation, so she wants everything back. Words no longer work as they should. No matter what Tai wants to say, the former trust will never be regained, even if she broke up with Esset. Now everything around seems completely alien, not the same as before. Virgo doesn't know what she has to do, but they don't listen to her. I can't believe that my friend still thinks that she needs to be looked after. She is worth absolutely nothing, even if she thinks so. If the lady has decided to continue to spoil the mood of everyone around her, the lady is going to leave as quickly as possible. She doesn't want to be bothered. The blonde runs forward desperately. There was something else that Tyrael forgot to tell me, but it's so important that it's worth listening to. Virgo miscalculated her strength. The fan flew first, and with it the heroine herself flew, who would very soon collide with the ground. The Count, who noticed all this, jumps out onto the balcony. He stood very close, listening to the conversation, because he was worried about his friend. Grabbing the beauty by the hand, the brunette pulls the miss back, trying to calm her down. He asks if everything is okay after the almost fall. People who heard noise and screams from the exit gathered closer, trying to find out what had happened in this short period of time. The conversation is finally over. Miss Puritina doesn't want any more trouble, so it would be best for her to leave quickly. Tai seems too angry, so she shouts that it's just the 2 of them. Ashlet has no right to interfere in other people's conversations. An attack on life is not called a private showdown. It's scary to even imagine what would have happened if the Duke had not been there. Obviously, Miss was too scared, so she didn't immediately understand what to do. The man asks her to leave this place. Turning to leave, CL looks at her former friend one last time. Somewhere deep down she feels sorry, but after everything that happened, the emotions disappeared. Green Eyes reaches out her hand, trying to stop the beauty, but she can't do anything else. Desires are a waste of time. Miss pushed another friend right in front of people. Insults are constantly being thrown around, forcing the lady into silence. There is no longer any chance of returning anything. With her head down, the girl leaves the hall, trying to hide from such terrible people. This is the end. Young Master Esset and even CL decided to leave their friend. The heroine doesn't seem to see that it's all her fault. For some reason, everyone loves Levirons, not the girl. She considers this terribly unfair, realizing that something was set up here a very long time ago. The girl has absolutely everything she could want, but the girl has no one else and nothing left. It doesn't matter anymore. A maid approaches the girl and says that an influential man wants to meet her. The icon of the imperial family glows on the shirt. They know that the princess was abandoned by everyone. Extending her palm, the woman invites Miss to come with her so that they can propose love. She will change the world and even someone like Tyrael too. Without even thinking, the beauty reaches out with her hand in response. She wants to get what she never had because she believes in the best. The ritual to prevent the resurrection of evil spirits took place in a rather fussy atmosphere. This time, everything was completely different. This event is so important. Seal, as a member of the founding family who contributed greatly, had to be present. No one asked the wishes of others. The girl was almost always worried that the girl might do something, but in the end, oddly enough, nothing happened. The most important thing is that they will not see each other again. After an exhausting event, the girl finally finds fresh air, which helps her breathe deeply. The Duke asks if everything is okay. Most likely, this is all because of what happened with Miss Puritina. She was acting strange from the very beginning. This is true. The girl would like her friend not to betray her, but the past cannot be changed. She's probably just tired, so she's trying to blame it all on it. The heroine didn't do anything wrong anyway, so there's no point in worrying about it. She's fine, it's just that nothing happened until then. The only thing that scares the girl a little is the fact that she has never seen Puritina in such a state before. Let's just hope she didn't do anything wrong. The best thing to do would be to go home and have a good rest. After all, it's worth taking care of your body and condition too. After the carriage arrives, the maiden thanks Rhinos. She wants to do this for everything he's done because it's incredible. If the young man had not been there, the heroine is even afraid to imagine what would have happened. I would like to believe that everything was not a pure coincidence, but something more. The guy still gives in and smiles. He's glad things turned out this way. You always want to help someone you value. A man with white hair standing in the bushes freezes. He could swear that just recently he felt the energy of an evil dragon. The girl finally arrived back at the estate. Almost from the threshold, she is met by May, who almost rushes forward. Smiling, the beauty says that everything is fine. She knows in advance what the question will be, so she answers it immediately without delay. The brunette looks no less worried. Miss looks too tired. During the festive evening, something definitely happened. Still smiling, the girl tries to remove all suspicions. She calmly says that everything is fine, trying not to start a story. The heroine tried so hard to hide the consequences of everything that happened, but obviously it didn't work out. I still can't get it out of my head. The girl needs rest. She's about to head to the bedroom almost immediately, so she asks May to take care of everything. Sitting down at the table so that the maid recognizes the hair, the lady again and again mentally returns to what happened earlier. She doesn't know what it was. It was impossible to even imagine what Tyrael was truly capable of. In the original, this girl was loved by all the heroes of the story. There is no arguing with the fact that Seal changed the original plot of the book, but still she did not think that everything would turn around like this. One can only wonder if the heroine is really involved in this. Current events really differ from the original ones so much. Rhino's is also quite different. In the original, he is a cursed prince whose true identity will remain a secret. He needs someone with purification abilities to keep himself in check. Now everything has become completely different. Nothing happened to him even after the beauty approached him. For some reason, everything is completely different from the true plot. The girl can't even imagine what exactly is wrong and what exactly is happening. It is strange that the young man agreed to all the terms of the contract and all the changes. Everything passed with a calmness that was even a little scary. The hero came to the evening under a hidden name so that most likely no one would recognize him. It seems it was all for the sake of the contract. Next to a guy, a girl cannot control herself. It seems as if everything is changing its true colors, no matter what. I want to know all the secrets. Virgo couldn't fall asleep, so she came into the office to do something. May decided to say what she wanted to say tomorrow because she was tired. As it turned out, it didn't all end with one letter. The Marquis sent his daughter another one, even if she didn't ask for anything. Not knowing what we are talking about, the lady clarifies. Last time he said that he was returning and asked to renew the engagement. May lowers her head. She doesn't seem to know exactly how to find the right words. It was said that he would arrive soon, just like last time. There was something new in this letter. The man threatened that he would not leave the ordinary servants alone. He will make everyone regret his daughter's decision. The heroine freezes. She did not immediately understand what exactly was being said or what exactly her father was going to do. He speaks vaguely. The couple thinks that what will work is that they threaten the safety of the servants. They believe that the girl will agree to their engagement terms. Getting up from her seat, the girl asks the maid not to worry. She sees that there is a storm raging inside her, so she wants to take care of everything. The girl intends to do everything in the best possible way. These are still her parents, who, even if they don't understand, still won't get what they deserve. The servant from the guild arrived almost immediately. He knows that his mistress would not call him without a reason, so he hurries. He heard that yesterday the maiden was at a festive evening. Perhaps something unpleasant happened that made her think. In fact, this is all untrue. The lady gets straight to the point. She wants to know exactly how much money the guild currently has. In fact, there are not many of them, but with what you have, you can purchase the title of Duchess. You need to bring your account books. First, you should look at the papers. As Leiter knows, the lady created the guild to break the engagement, but after achieving her plan, a new problem arose. This problem will be a problem in the future if it is not solved. The girl's father is not going to break the agreement with Count Esset. Essites are too rich, despite their status. This is, of course, important, but most likely not worth staying under their wing. This alliance is obviously a business deal, but there is no point in threatening to sell the daughter to the Count's youngest son. This looks more like absurdity. The father is looking for options on how best to get rid of his daughter. At the same time, he doesn't even know that she has as much money as every rich family. It would have been possible to tell everything a long time ago, but the heroine cannot afford to talk about money, much less about the source of income. Talking about something like this is harder than it seems. If the public finds out that a member of one of the families has created a dark guild, it will become a problem. The only solution will be to expand the business. In this case, no one will have any unnecessary questions. The young man suggested the same thing, but we are not talking about secret organizations. We need to come up with something that everyone will officially admire. Leiter falls silent. He did not immediately catch the thought that the princess put into his head. He wants to know more details. You need something that will fit the conditions. It should be something small, but profitable enough for the lady to start earning like a noble lady. This is how the heroine will be able to say openly that she opened the business herself and not with the help of the family money that was given to her. All guild members were gathered. The leader was just following the decree, so he didn't explain anything at all, only calling them to a meeting. Everyone was given a piece of paper, but no one understood what the meaning of all the arts was. Some people think it depicts a monster. The girl did not understand why such a simple thing was also inaccessible. Sometimes it's too difficult to explain, even through paper. Everything that is arranged and drawn speaks of a new product that the guild will sell, but officially. The young man is no less surprised than the others. We are talking about chicken kebab, or it seems to everyone that it is so. This product fits most people's needs, so it seems great. The hero laughs because the conversation has gone somewhere wrong. The girl is going to send the guys to cook simple meat. The specificity of the dark business is to never prepare anything ordinary. People who are members of dark associations are quite shy in communication, which is why they behave this way. They are never sure of anything. Others think this idea is great. The idea that they will now have a normal business, other than an underground organization, is very encouraging. I didn't want to interrupt the joy, but some people still have some questions that cannot be delayed. They understand that this is important. There are many stalls on the streets selling the same goods. The shop should have some kind of zest that will help it stand out. The meat will, of course, be unusual. The heroine has already thought of everything in advance, so she knows exactly how to solve the whole problem. Each person taking a bite of the dish, everyone immediately begins to almost spit because of such a bright taste. It's too spicy. Maybe just a little bit of spice, but that will be the peculiarity. There won't be anything similar in similar products because the point is a gold mine. Even Leiter disagrees. This is like a new form of torture. The lady looks too joyful from the very moment she attended the ball. Everything started because of what happened that evening. The tongues seem to be on fire, which makes you want even more water. The reaction is somehow reminiscent of a cute dragon who always released fire, even without any spicy food. The heroine even quickly came up with the name of the product being sold. She knows exactly what needs to be done to succeed. The kebab will be called Dragon. The idea came to mind immediately after the image of rhinos appeared. The bench was installed in a matter of days. Now, all that remained was to check whether there was everything needed to cook the meat. The mistress is the person who is responsible for keeping the wards busy with business. Leiter got the most work and paperwork. Looking at her brainchild from the side, the girl just smiles. She is incredibly happy that everything is starting on such a good note. As she is about to leave, the girl hears some familiar sounds. Perhaps this is just what you want to hear, but it reminds you of a baby dragon. Rhinos rushes towards me. He reincarnated again, so no one would even suspect that he was a prince. The girl almost doesn't have time to grab her friend, but he runs into the body, trying to hide under his arms. The baby appeared as if out of nowhere. He blinks his eyes as if trying to say something, but since he does not have speech, he simply makes sounds. The dragon might have been noticed. They would be in trouble if he came in his true form, so rumors would spread throughout secular society. It is precisely because of what can happen that the heroine almost instantly pulls the hood that has fallen over her head. She doesn't need extra publicity. The kid notices what the girl did, but instead of saying anything else, he points his paw towards the food stand. After this, Rhinos takes off, trying to show something. He wants to go to the square to look at his girlfriend's case. The hero wants to fly further, but the first thing he notices is a stand with the names of dishes. A few minutes later, he again finds himself in the hands of the heroine. Obviously, the young man was scared of the man shouting about dragon kebab. Nobody knows that it's just a chicken. Gently stroking the boy on the head, the girl assures that this is all not true, because no one would dare to use real meat. This is just a name to attract as many buyers as possible. Things are just beginning to develop, so it was necessary. The young man writes something on his hand, but the maiden only laughs. She doesn't intend to cook anything from rhinos. so she walks over to the bench to get some food. Sinking her teeth into the kebab, the girl is still trying to convince her friend that it is just chicken, but in the end, all attempts fail. Still agreeing, the dragon also wants to try, so he tries to eat as much as possible, looking at the food with interest. Pointing to this, the beauty once again says that it is a chicken, so as not to scare him. It even attracts people's attention. A boy passing nearby asks his mother to try the goodies too. A flying lizard eats something so delicious. The girl notices the attention, so she points to the stand where they can buy kebab. Receiving his portion, the young man takes a bite, but after that he begins to shout that it is very spicy. On top of all this, the food is hot, but still delicious. The seller said that he would give him the least spicy one, but since this happened, the mother decides to finish it herself. It doesn't work out because the boy is getting a taste for it. Passers-by watching the picture begin to become more and more interested. This is a delicious chicken kebab that will make everyone breathe fire. There are 3 levels of spiciness in total. One daredevil emerges from the crowd and asks to sell him one of the sharpest ones. The girl stands aside and watches as one after another the men ask for the hottest thing and a glass of water. A start has finally been made. Virgo wants as many people as possible to hear about her brainchild Luminous. This is the first step to success. Even the children have become too interested in what is happening and what is being sold there, which does not even seem surprising. The flying lizard became the most important attribute. Rhinos eats the kebab, showing himself even cuter than before. The children look at the young man, but not for too long so as not to seem strange. They are all asking if it belongs to the mistress. The young lady most likely raised the baby herself, and it should be tame. Questions pour in one after another. This is something like the truth. The baby did not belong to Seal herself from the very beginning, but others could tell that it was so. The young man does not have a name, but since he constantly says EQ, he can be called that way. This seems like a great option. Children are happy because for them this seems even sweeter. The crown prince seems embarrassed because the name does not suit his status. In the distance, your favorite music, which usually plays in the square, begins to play. People leave promising that they will come a little later. EQ is smart because it was thanks to him that we managed to achieve the goal. The stall begins to flourish against all odds. The day is finally over. One of the workers asks where the lady is, but she has disappeared somewhere, although she was nearby before closing. The owner stands in the shadows, talking to the person in charge of the counter. He hands over papers with the day's sales. All customers were notified before purchasing anything of just one thing. A portion of the profits will be donated to the temple. This news seems wonderful. Everything will only get better in the future, so we will have to monitor this quite strictly. The man asks about the victim's obligation. They sold a lot today, so they had to buy a lot of new products. Unfortunately, this cannot be avoided because otherwise it will not be possible to rise too high. There is a certain limit on how much you can earn, but this is not so important. The initial goal is not money. We need as many people as possible to know about Luminous. The counter needs simple glory. The work will not be in vain, so the servants promise that they will continue in the same spirit. Over time, everything will only get better. Esset was the first to know about the new company on the market. I can't believe that CL became the one who sponsors the sale of kebab. The servants assume that it is the ex-wife who is behind the organization. Duval is interested, but he doesn't have time to do all this. Without the support of the guy's family, they will find themselves in the abyss of suffering, because they only have an unfortunate kebab shop that will not generate income. If you look at the level of sales, it becomes clear that they are going almost to zero. Many members of the Esset family turned their backs on Laverins. The girl hopes with a small business to get out of all the countless problems in which she is mired, but nothing will come of it. The heroine completely forgot why and how her ancestor drove the family into debt. Business will only destroy Ciel once and for all. Soon the Marquis will return back to the capital. The guy likes him much more than his daughter. This became known a long time ago, but as it turned out, his cart broke down halfway. This is precisely the reason why a man will be delayed. Everything that happens only gets on the Count's nerves. This happened at the most inopportune moment, which is just annoying. If necessary, they could always send people from the estate to bring the old man to the capital. The problem will be solved. You don't need to do anything with Luminous. They themselves will go bankrupt, so the master orders only to monitor and bring reports. The young man is not trying to be vindictive, but still hopes that he can watch as the ex-fiancé's case goes down. Rinos helps the girl sit down to rest. In recent days, she has been looking after and helping her business, so she has been overworking. There is no choice, and I don't want to make one at all. This business belongs to Ciel, so she must be the one to ensure its progress. It's hard not to notice the worry that the Essites will try to somehow interfere with the matter. Nobody knows what they are capable of. This is not the only reason. The heroine does not think that the Count will let her get rich in peace, just because of his bad character. There is no news yet, but waiting is worse than any torture, because this does not even allow the girl to relax properly. There is nothing to worry about, so the prince tries to calm his acquaintance. If Duval accepts something, he won't sit on the sidelines. What worries the girl most is her ex-husband. Father most likely had a hand in ruining everything. The blonde assures that a solution will be found very soon. It took the Marquis some time to return. The Crown Prince bows his head, promising Miss that he will help her. There are no intentions to ignore what is happening. Instead of agreeing, the lady begins to ask how they know that the father will be delayed. She never said they had problems with the carriage. The blonde's face instantly turns red. He doesn't want to tell the truth, but he understands perfectly well that he accidentally screwed up. There is only one assumption. The young man intercepted the dove that brought the letter, but even this did not turn out to be true. The girl assumes that, by an absurd accident, the guy broke the Laverin's cart in order to delay them a little. The face speaks for itself when the prince quietly says that he only disabled one wheel to slow down the process a little. He could not do otherwise because his friend needed help so badly. Her father did not intend to retreat so easily. The young man did this because he couldn't let something bad just happen. He wanted the best. The girl looks into the eyes of the prince with a bewitched smile on her lips. She doesn't want to admit that she liked this determination. To be honest, Ciel had been wanting to ask something for several days now. She doesn't know exactly how to say the right thing. The question has been circulating for quite some time because the lady wants to know why Rinos is so kind to her, all because of their concluded agreement. This was part of the terms of the contract. It was necessary to help break the engagement with Duval so that the girl could have a normal life. This is true because she and the guy are bound by a contract. These relationships are needed to achieve the goal. The heroine wants to break the engagement, and the prince wants to return the bride. Even the future emperor agreed to such conditions, but one cannot deny the fact that he feels nothing for Tyrael. This couple saw each other many times, but the hero did not even look in the direction of Puritina, who was not interesting to him. This attitude seems illogical. With the blonde's abilities, all the problems that haunt the crown prince will go away. Looking into Rinos' eyes, the maiden tries to find out what he was thinking when he agreed to the contract they made. From the outside, the young man's behavior may seem quite strange, and this is understandable, but in reality, everything is completely different. Lowering his hand onto the palm of his beloved, the blonde asks only for a little time to talk about everything. The conversation will not take much time, just like the preparation, but you don't want to talk about it without any reason. The girl is silent. She understands that she has no right to push the blonde in his endeavors, so she agrees. Judging by the lady's look, you can understand that she was upset. There are still many questions left, despite everything that happened. Human hearts are too strange. It is impossible to believe that Ciel is afraid of the prince's possible answer, whatever it may be. Perhaps this is all due to the fact that the countess initially knew that it was better not to raise this topic. She assures that everything is fine. The girl got too playful, so she asked too many questions that shouldn't have been said. In any case, you need to ask for forgiveness. Rising from her seat, the heroine bows her head. She was just curious, but that doesn't mean she needs to answer right away. The prince is trying to say something, but there is not even a single argument for words. Only the name comes out of your mouth. It has long since gotten dark outside, so it's time to head back to the estate. The lady says goodbye as she leaves the site. Sitting on a chair in the main building of the guild in her office, the lady thinks about everything that has happened in such a short period of time. Last night, the girl never slept a wink because thoughts filled her head without even intending to help her. It seemed like everything was going to end just because of everything that was happening. In addition to all this, the girl had various dreams. An evil dragon with a light color appears at night, and this is not the first time. The heroine assures herself that this is just a stupid dream. Leiter enters the room and tearfully asks from the threshold whether the Lord liked selling kebabs without him. The girl does not want to listen to absurdity, so she invites the young man to come in so that he can say that he has two news, good and bad. The girl has absolutely no time to listen to riddles, so she immediately asks to tell about both cases. The good news is that information about the new store has spread to different segments of the population, so everyone is aware. Congratulations are already being accepted because what everyone around is doing is talking about the new business created by the lady. Such news is truly necessary and joyful because now Luminous is very important to win public recognition in order to gain publicity. Leader once again promises that he will do everything in the best possible way, but after a slight nod, the lady asks about the bad news. The man is about to say something, but immediately after that he goes silent, realizing that he needs to think before he speaks. As it turned out, the business received an offer for a deal from the Earl of Esset. Everything is argued that in this way, the Esset and Laveran's family will be able to strengthen their relationship. The man wants to invest well and promises to give the amount that Ciel herself asks for. This offer is quite profitable. The woman no longer wants to listen to such nonsense, so she arrogantly glares at the young man. This is just a joke, because Leiter is going to reject the offer based only on the status and name of the person who made it. Knocking on the door, one of the maids says that a client has arrived who said that he urgently needs to meet with the hostess. The person who asks for a meeting has previously come to clarify about the novel that was offered to him. This time the young man is going to ask for dating advice. He hopes for help. Almost immediately, the image of the blonde man who came to mind a few months ago out of necessity comes to mind. The young man sits with a book in his hands, as if nothing is happening, and he is not waiting for anyone, but out of the corner of his eye he sees a figure in the doorway. He says that the maiden came too late, but she asks for forgiveness. Since the client came unexpectedly, I had to prepare something. The man said he needed dating advice. The heroine still cannot believe what is happening because she usually does not engage in personal consultations. Looking at the man sitting opposite, the girl realizes that he is too suspicious. The look gives me goosebumps. Even in the magazine that the heroine checked before coming, she only found the entry dating advice, although she couldn't remember that. The young man looked for the answer in books, but even there he found nothing. One of them is the best-selling in the Empire, but it is of no use. The book writes about love, which makes the meeting ambiguous. As the mistress of the guild, Ciel is obliged to help everyone who comes. Now it has become more interesting what the person spent so much money on. I can't believe that this is all due to the lack of friends, although anything can happen. The whole problem is that the guy has recently become close to one lady and even received a cute nickname, but still doesn't know what to do next. This means that everything is going well. Nicknames are usually given only in cases of warm relations, which already says everything. There is still one problem. The young man did not tell something important because he simply could not destroy their relationship. The man is hiding something serious because, according to him, the girl may hate him or even begin to avoid him. Since the blonde cannot tell anyone except his beloved, all that remains is to pluck up the courage and tell it like it is. Even if the beauty does not immediately accept the truth or tries to change, this will still be the best option. If the hero himself does not tell the truth and it comes to light, the relationship will deteriorate even more. The first step should be left to the guy. From the moment a guy finds out what another person likes, a certain interest appears that was not there before. If the girl also continues to think about what is happening, we can assume that she has also coped with this task. The blonde nods. The conversation helped him because he now had more confidence in what he needed to do. He will pluck up courage and tell everything. The girl said that she was not an expert, and that what they were treated with was not the best, but when she saw a bag of money, her face changed. Now she knows exactly how to help. After a little time, it will become easier. The lady promises to make a list of places for recognition. The list includes the most popular places in the Empire, such as the famous steakhouse, where you can do everything. The girl sincerely believes in the strength of the young man, because he will definitely be able to win the heart of his chosen one, who is only waiting for this. Ciel never thought that she would give love advice to other people. We can only hope that everything turned out right. After everything that happened, it was a nice distraction, but my thoughts wander back to Rhino's. The facial expression and atmosphere that day betrayed the tension. No matter how you look at it, It was quite difficult to find out the truth. If the lady's guesses are correct, she doesn't even know how to behave further. She didn't have any options left that would suit her. A huge chance may seem like something better for the lady herself. She can't think twice about it. Rhinos can still help, so the beauty decides to do it. Getting rid of Duval will be the easiest thing to do. If the girl tells her father that she is dating the crown prince, then even he will break off the engagement with Esset. May shouts that only a scumbag can play with the feelings of others, but this is addressed to another person, namely the maid sitting on the floor next to her. Lola continues to cry. She doesn't know how this happened, but she apologizes, because of her she was not greeted properly. The girl was betrayed by someone she trusted so much. She didn't know that this could happen to her. There's a fire in May's eyes. When that man found out that Lola liked him, he took advantage of her, making everything worse. Despite everything that happened between them, the young man is not going to be with her, but takes everything for granted. Nobody would do that. The girl doesn't even know what to say, so she awkwardly shifts from foot to foot. She understands that this is cruel. The mistress asks the maid to pull herself together and go into the room to wash her face. Everything will be okay. After a long day, the beauty finally found herself in the room. She got into bed to get some rest and fall asleep quickly. Bad thoughts come into my head. Even if only for a second the lady allowed such selfish thoughts about rhinos. You can't use the prince because no one knows exactly how it might end. You need to sleep and then do everything to break the engagement. An image of the future emperor crying appears in his head. He was always honest, but for some reason CL treated him properly. The girl sits up abruptly in bed, trying to force her mind to stop thinking about the guy who has literally taken up residence in her thoughts. As a result, I couldn't fall asleep, and this was not at all because of fatigue, because it was terrible. The maiden was worried about the prince. After so many terrible thoughts, she couldn't understand how she hurt rhinos even without a knife. The girl has too much work, so there is simply no time to think about anything else. I want everything to become simpler and easier. All the prince's actions confused the beauty. She thought that she could calmly react to all his antics, but then she realized, perhaps the young man Rhinos himself did not notice how he fell in love with his girlfriend. Such a thought, like a worm, ate deeper and deeper. Because of all the confusion with documents and everything else, it was quite difficult for the lady to hear what they were trying to tell her. If it was something important, no one should have known about everything that was happening. This was supposed to remain a secret. The virgin kept thinking about the thoughts that visited the dragon's head. In any case, confessing your feelings is not an option. I would like to maintain the warm relationship that the two of them have maintained. Changing anything was the last option. In the end, CL decided to postpone her meetings with the prince until she got her mind in order in relation to everything around her. Grabbing paper and pen, the girl quickly writes that because of her busyness, they will not be able to see each other, even if they would really like to. Another day for Luminous has also come to an end. The sellers cannot believe that among the buyers were even nobles who wanted to try the meat. The lady stands aside watching what is happening, but at the same time she still thinks about the prince, whom she misses. The organization of the place has already been completed, so the guys ask permission to go home. Last time the heroine already asked, but she clarifies again. She wants to know if the patrol went well. Everything around remains safe even at night. You still need to be on alert, since no one knows what exactly Duval is capable of. The servants nod, even if it doesn't really matter. Each of them is tired, so they would like to get home as soon as possible. The standing men who were hired did not know that the park would be patrolled every 30 minutes, preventing them from moving around in pairs. One of the pests calculated the time when no one would be on duty. They should prevent new business from expanding. It is some of them who will make the Dark Guild understand who exactly has the power, even if they believe that they are the best. Water comes first. The next thing in line is the fire, which is lit with a match. Throwing the match forward, the guy jumps back, watching the fire grow and the flames engulf the area. The next morning, there was absolutely nothing left of the tent. Ashes and broken stands were burned. Those who promised to monitor the patrol arrived almost on time, but when everything happened, no one was around. CL stands nearby, watching as one of the servants examines the things scattered around. The attackers poured oil on everything and then started a fire. As the heroine thought, sooner or later something like this was bound to happen. She hoped it wouldn't be so soon. In any case, the young lady was not particularly eager to continue selling kebabs. They just have to thank Esset. After what happened, it will finally be possible to move on to the next plan, which Seal has long prepared. Luminous has already become quite famous, even if just because of the barbecue and with losses. But this means that it's time to move on. The next day, the heroine called the first people with whom she would like to connect her business before growing it again. The couple had heard about a similar case before, but did not know how it would turn out. Logically, everything should be great, because the lady donates a lot of money to the temple. It's truly amazing, even if it's just getting started. In the future, they will all be able to work together, which will only bring benefits and money. Butler escorts the guests out. She can finally breathe out, because after a day of communicating with people, the girl is tired. The only good thing is that everyone is in a good mood. My head starts to hurt, as if someone had been hitting it all day. The best way to unwind is to simply go out into the fresh air. Going out into the corridor, the beauty hears a squabble, as some man says that there was a meeting with other nobles, so he also wants to. Going down the stairs, the heroine asks what happened. After what happened, the last thing she wants is a showdown. Looking at the arriving duke, the lady immediately recognizes him as Rublet Justice. He is known in wide circles. The duke has come a long way, so in order not to frighten him, the maiden makes a greeting and bows her head. The person is already well known, therefore, changing the topic of conversation. The young man says that he came to repeat, calling the lady Sorel. The Justice family is one of the most important in the state. The head of this powerful family is the Duke, who is a national hero. The young man sacrifices himself in order to take the lives of his opponents and win when it suits him. If the Laveran's family exists to imprison the dragon in the labyrinth, then justice must destroy it. Even for such power you have to pay, and not a small fee. This is why the Duke looks like a small child. To get rid of the curse, you need to awaken, but with one condition. He needs someone he wants to protect, but cannot in his current state. In the original, he awakened at the festival to protect Tyrael from the dragon. But because of all this, an obsession appeared in his head, and he became an antagonist who wanted to steal Puratina and ruin the life of the prince. Now this person is not like that because he is still a child who cannot harm anyone, even if he wants to. Trying to convince the guy that the name sounds different, the girl fails once again. She gets tired of arguing. This man appeared out of the blue and is now giving a lecture on kinship. The parents stopped communicating with their families a long time ago. The girl understands that she still cannot refuse. She is partly responsible for leaving him in this state. The young man arrived only because he had heard rumors that some prominent nobles had recently arrived at the estate and were being talked about. Rublet usually shows no interest in anything, which makes the heroine feel even more strange, as if she has broken the system. The boy is not interested in what is happening on the estate because he came to find out about the man who was with the lady at the festival in the castle. There was a dark-haired man there who escorted the girl out of the carriage. He didn't introduce himself, although everyone else didn't recognize him. At the ball, Rhino said that he changed the memories of everyone present, but for some reason, Justice still somehow remembered everything well. No one would ever remember Duke Abshelkt, because such a first and last name does not even exist. Rublet knew how to break the curse. That is why the young man asks everyone to tell him, because other nobles only remember the man with dark hair, but do not know his name or position. What I remember best was the aura emanating from that duke. She was somehow especially sinister. The fact that no one remembers such a famous person is suspicious. The Duchess herself was close to him that evening. What happened clearly indicated that the girl knew this man, which is why she behaved this way when she was near him. The memories of Reno's remain unshaken. If the couple meet, the prince may have irreparable problems. You can only cure the guy so that he calms down. The girl plays the role, saying that she does not remember any man. The look on the lady's face makes you wonder if she is lying, but it seems more likely that the lady is laughing. Even if Ciel doesn't know anything, there's nothing he can do about it. He wants to know as much as possible about everything that is happening. The Duke's presence makes people nervous, even though he insists that he came just to talk and not to interrogate. Bowing his head, the blonde asks for forgiveness for such a sudden visit. He hoped that after meeting with Laverans, he would learn more details. As a sign of his apology, the young man moves closer a box with a gift. It contained a necklace that matches the hair color and the bracelet because of the purple stone that lies there. The thing looks too expensive to give it just like that, especially to a stranger. Such valuable gifts should have meaning. The guy again reminds that he came to the house without warning, so the necklace is a form of apology that he brings. The heroine is still trying to deny it. This doesn't make any sense, so she's not going to accept anything. Folding his hands on his chest, the hero confidently says that he will not go anywhere until his gift is accepted, because this would not offend him. The blonde seems to be becoming more serious than before. He looks out the window, so the girl understands that there is simply no point in standing her ground. If the Duke stands so strongly on this, the gift will be accepted. His lordship makes this seem even better. The necklace is made in a single copy, so the girl cannot simply refuse, simply forgetting about everything. There will be many problems. After Laverins agreed, the blonde, without changing his face, said that he was already leaving. We can only hope that the girl will at least remember something. Smiling, the lady hides her true emotions behind a mask. She doesn't know if the Duke will go looking for rhinos, but that shouldn't happen. The little dragon, sitting on a tree outside the window, sadly watches everything that is happening and the smiles that the girl gives to the guest. He no longer has the strength to look at it all, so he turns around and quickly flies into the distance. The girl turns around. It seemed to her, or someone knocked on the window again, even if it was the second floor, which seems unreal. The Duke notices that the acquaintance has frozen. In order not to attract too much attention to her person, she tries to quickly open the door. Just about to leave, the hero finally promises that they will see each other again, and then walks into the distance, leaving the maiden alone. Going out into the street, the man stops near his carriage. His intuition never fails him, despite everything that happens around him. The girl is definitely hiding something, or has really forgotten everything. In any case, the energy of that man at the ball belonged to the dragon. The Duke has no idea what will happen in the future, but wants to follow all the actions of Miss Laverins. It is not so important whether that man is really an evil dragon or not, because everything will be clear from the energy emanating from the necklace. A girl who has been sitting at work for several hours turns to her ward to ask how things are going in the guild. Leader, almost in tears, says that they are facing bankruptcy because the owner decided to stay at home. This is all untrue, because a man always exaggerates the truth. Everything is written right on the subordinate's face. He works like a slave tirelessly because he has to help. Virgo asked to be reminded about the salary and its size. It's not hard for him to work in the Dark Guild, so the guy falls silent, saying that he was just complaining. In any case, it was all just empty words that are not taken into account. The young man tries to switch to another topic. He asks about the new business. Oh my God, everything is much better than expected because the nobles also react well to what is happening. The sponsorship is strictly controlled by Count Essett's family, which makes everyone around him nervous, but everything will be fine anyway. There is no point in worrying. In any case, the lady is confident that she will be able to build a good business and then make her ex-fiancé bankrupt. After all that has been said, the girl promises that she will send some biography. Everyone will need to figure this out. Usually the lady herself does this, but this time obviously she had other plans or work. A few hours later, the work was completed and the documents were corrected, so this was a huge plus. Too much time has passed, especially since just like that, unnoticed, a magical letter flew towards the beauty. The magical letter is one of the rarest phenomena. It was sent by the royal house, which leads to even more thoughts. Reading the answer, the lady tries to hold back her laughter. Now is not the time for this because she hasn't decided how to deal with it yet. It is impossible to ignore the Crown Prince's letter, but answering haphazardly would be an even worse option, which would ruin everything. By answering the letter, the lady decides her own fate. She takes up the pen to answer, at least something, and the first thing she does is make it clear that she is not sleeping. The young man asks how busy she is. They cannot see each other even for a couple of minutes, to which the lady sends a positive response. In the prince's head, approximate places appeared where he would like to invite his acquaintance, but at the same time, he felt awkward. The girl carefully rereads the letter over and over again. More and more questions arise in my head that make me nervous. The heroine cannot pretend that she does not understand anything, because everything is open like a book. The young man simply does not have enough attention. The girl promises that next time they will go where he suggests. There is no choice, because the young man has no one else. This is all due to a curse that makes it impossible to leave the castle, because wherever the young man goes, you need to hide your true identity. Previously, the blonde was very lonely, but even now, everyday little things should warm his soul. At that time, Rhinos was happy. Now, sitting at the table with a letter in her hands, the lady is thinking about what she can answer. There are too many questions and too few answers. The guy decided to take the first step by placing sadness icons. He is all alone, while the girl has so much to do, and she leaves him. No matter how sad or beautiful it is worth ignoring, but the consciousness whispers all its benefits. On top of all this, he likes her. There is still no time for dates, and even more so, the heroine cannot be sure that the feelings will last too long. There's a complete nightmare going on in my head. Everything is mixed up like porridge, which prevents you from thinking normally. You can't be sure of anything because people's hearts are too changeable. It is necessary to answer, so Ciel writes that they will see each other soon. It's quite late. Time to go to bed. Wishing good dreams, the beauty leaves the office so as not to read the answer, which comes almost immediately. The next morning turned out to be even busier than before. Very soon, Count Kettleton was supposed to arrive, and then everyone else on the list. Sipping tea, the girl asks to accompany the Count to the reception area and ask him to wait a little. There is little time left. A young man arrives and says the man is already waiting downstairs. The aroma of flowers and roses cannot be confused with anything else, which puts you in a stupor. It turned out to be Rhinos, who again reincarnated as another person, but under a different name so that he would not be recognized. Even a fool understands that this is not Count Kettleton, who is sleeping peacefully in the carriage, but the servant promises that he will come soon, and then leaves. Rhinos comes closer, immediately listening to the outrage addressed to him. He tries to explain something, but Lai asks what's going on. The lady wanted to discuss matters with the Count, so this is what they are going to do. Obviously, the guy continues to play his role. Looking into Ciel's eyes, the hero asks him not to avoid him, and then moves a little closer, trying to reach his beloved. The weather is beautiful outside, which makes the young man only rejoice. He wanted them to meet on that day. The weather was truly wonderful, except for the fact that the maiden was supposed to be at the estate discussing business. The man showed up without saying anything, and now he's pushing for pity with his face. He apologizes for upsetting his girlfriend's plans. Sitting alone in the castle was terribly sad and boring, so in any case, the hero does not so much wish for the committed act. Apart from Laverans, he has no one to spend his time with, so he wanted to spend a little time with his friend, who also wants this. The interlocutor almost spills the tea from the cup, trying to squeeze the handle as hard as possible due to the strong irritation that is rolling in. It is quite difficult to refuse after such words, or rather, almost impossible. The young man seems too nice. You need to try to calm down so that in the end, everything will be better. It will be impossible to answer questions in such a mood. While walking, a guy asks to go to a pastry shop. He's not sure if he likes these kinds of places himself, but he's going to the store. In any case, Ciel likes the treats from there, and that's the most important thing. The local grape pie is quite famous. Pointing to the door, the young man is still going to go there to try what the girl is talking about. He can't miss this opportunity. It seems that he is so good that he will have to sacrifice his time to do something with the prince. A few minutes later, a beautiful tartlet appeared on the plate. It looks really delicious, and to top it all off, it's wonderful, like a work of art. The girl immediately breaks off a piece, enjoying the taste. She doesn't remember the last time she ate something like that, knowing it was a long time ago. The brunette smiles. He's happy to hear that his friend liked the new flavor they showed her. Next time you can try something different. Virgo invites Rhinos to try too, but is distracted by a piece of paper that ends up in the young man's hands. It's nothing important, so my thoughts turn back to the pie. It is so beautiful that you want to eat more than just a piece. After the sweets shop, the couple headed straight for pancakes with cream. The prince was also the first to go there. Next on the plan was the steakhouse, which they headed to almost immediately after the store. It seemed to fit the list. Everything was incredible and amazing. Even the lady herself, who did not expect to rest, liked it. The only confusing detail is that this is a dating plan that she herself wrote some time ago for a client who came to the guild. All the places are quite famous, so it is clear that the recommendations will be put into practice. It's not that important because the lady is on a date. The young man notices strange changes in the character and appearance of the maiden, so he asks if everything is okay, and she almost immediately says that everything is fine. Nothing of the kind because the heroine is not sure of anything anymore. She wants to scream to get through to her mind. Noticing the excitement, the guy tries to say something good, so he offers to look at the sunset, which is so beautiful. Most likely the guy likes them, But this does not change anything because it's time to return home. He begs to go at least for a little while. The guy tells his story. It was very difficult for him to go outside from an early age. This is why walks are so pleasant, and because of this, he does not notice how time flies. The girl agrees to do this just for a short time, so that in the end she will have time to do everything she needed. She understands that this is the best solution. The sunset is truly beautiful. The hero's words that she will not regret became real, because this is truly so. Out of the corner of her eye, the girl notices Rhinos's strange look. She asks worriedly if this was what the young man wanted to see and what he imagined in his head. Everything is wonderful, and the same for the girl who thinks the same way. The sunset is superb, just as usual. The brunette changes the topic of conversation, asking the beauty if she liked the day they spent together, since her opinion is important to him. Virgo always enjoys spending time outdoors rather than discussing problems with nobles. This is what is true. The sadness still doesn't go away. The beauty looks somewhere into the distance, thoughtfully examining the surface of the river surface, in which the sunset is reflected. Reaching out his hand, the brunette pulls out a leaf from his hair, throwing it to the side. With this maneuver, he became much closer. The eyes show all the emotions that are hidden somewhere deep in the head. Virgo understands that she shows everything as if in the palm of her hand, a persistent look that won't go away, as if hinting that the young man wants and expects something, but is not even going to say what exactly. To be honest, he would like to say something. Finally, I manage to collect all my thoughts into one, so that I can say something and not do anything terrible. It's about the two of them, but it can wait anyway. At the most inopportune moment, it starts to rain, which ruins everything. Stretching out his hand, the young man grabs the beauty's palm. They must go somewhere to quickly hide from the rain, which literally took them by surprise. Hiding from the weather was a good idea, but nothing changes the fact that the girl is incredibly uncomfortable, no matter how hard she tries to make herself feel. The rain caught the couple by surprise. Perhaps this is due to the fast approach of summer. Conversation tries to hide true emotions. It gets a little chilly because the girl is wet. The rain will end very soon, so after waiting a little, you can move out. Noticing the slight trembling of her friend's body, the brunette hands her a jacket, throwing it over her shoulders to warm her up at least a little. You can read love in your gaze, which can no longer be justified by anything else. Everything becomes even more clear. Even if it's warm outside, you should be careful. A cold in the spring is not the best thing that will incapacitate anyone. There's no need to worry. The girl was a little wet, but will always remain extremely careful so that nothing bad happens. The gaze again drops somewhere to the floor. Now, the smell from the jacket, which enveloped the consciousness, began to disturb even more than before. Relief comes immediately because the rain stops. The heroine was almost overtaken by this love atmosphere. The young man again begins to talk about what he wanted to say before the rain started. I want to instantly escape and forget. It becomes almost impossible to avoid everything that is happening. It's immediately clear that Rhinos is overwhelmed with emotion because his gaze is so persistent. It is no longer possible to avoid conversation, so being proactive, the girl asks to listen to her. She's going to speak first. To be honest, the girl tried to avoid this and even thought about pretending that she knew nothing, so that everything would form itself. Now that same realization came to my head. This won't help in any way because you have to figure everything out on your own. The girl is not as honest with Rhinos as she thought at the very beginning. She would like things to be better than they are. Every time CL pretends to be strong, but she is still the same ordinary person who copes with difficulties alone. After the conversation, their relationship will most likely change, but this is also important. The lady just asks to give her just a little more time. The girl really wants to hear everything that the guy was going to tell her, but a little later when the right time comes. Virgo wants to think things through carefully in order to understand exactly what feelings she harbors. She needs to know what's going on in her head. The brunette stops the beauty mid-sentence. For him, what he had already heard in the last few minutes was more than enough. The fact that the lady cares for the prince makes him happy. He promises to wait for his beloved as long as it takes, even if it takes forever. The young man will not remain idle either. He gives time but wants to somehow change the decision because Laverins must be sure of her feelings. Everything will be fine because the girl completely likes this situation. She is confident that everything will be fine, no matter what. Tyrael sits in front of a cup of tea. The rain has fallen too heavily, so it will be difficult to return home. The Empress apologizes for calling the girl to her place, but she brushes it off. She could not refuse the Queen's request for an appointment. The girl likes that the blonde is on her side and, on top of all this, is trying to do everything as best as possible. Miss Puratina is ready for anything, so taking advantage of this position, the Empress says that it will be necessary to return what Lavirans took away. Everything that the young lady has, I would like Tai to have too. She always dreamed about this, and the woman, of course, knows this. Initially, the lady wanted to end her relationship with Count Esset, and her friend was well aware of this. For some reason, when the heroine told her friend about her feelings for Duval, she changed her attitude, and then drew the Lord's attention to herself and forced him to stay away from his mistress. All the love and attention went to the girl instead of Puratina, who deserved it much more than anyone else. Thinking about this, the blonde realizes that she was just being used. Even though it was a mistake, she made it look like it was done on purpose. Lady Puratina hears only what she wants to hear. According to the Empress, the former friend was a snake that crept up unnoticed. The girl promises to help, even if everything gets worse. She knows that the lady is not the kind of person who can be treated in such a way that they feel bad. Now everything will be different. The woman promises to make the blonde one of the most significant figures in the entire empire. After the lady departs back to the estate, the brunette laughs, looking out the window. The girl is too stupid, like a child who was given candy. To keep the crown prince in line, you need the abilities of a girl who can be easily used. She herself will not notice how everything happens. Looking out the window at the roads, the girl thinks about what the weather is like outside today. She's incredibly nice, even though it rained just yesterday. Rhinos went to the palace, but the lady did not know whether everything ended well or not. The rain turned into a real storm that could not be stopped. Yesterday, everything was wonderful, but now it seems unreal. The girl could not believe that she had given the green light to action. The young man, in turn, promised that he would do everything in the best possible way. He is going to win the beauty's heart. What happened is now running through my head every now and then. The hero said that he was ready to wait as easily as if he knew in advance what exactly the heroine meant. The face is covered with paint. The awkwardness makes itself felt because the lady has no idea how to look her friend in the eyes. She won't be able to avoid meetings. Yesterday, the girl promised that she would no longer avoid the guy. Immediately after, he said that such behavior hurt him incredibly. Approaching the estate, the brunette notices the Duchess, who hurries towards her. She seems to be all glowing. Freedom has done her good. They had not seen Arya for a very long time. The last time was after the two of them got rid of their unlucky husband and put him in prison. Thanks to the Duchess, everything is going great. A comfortable life and a pleasant pastime help you relax and forget about past problems. Arya offers too much. They decided to take a walk, almost immediately offering to make a donation to the guild. This seems like a very small amount compared to what Lavirans did. The heroine wants to repay in the same coin. The girl is grateful even that they agreed to meet with her. She doesn't know what exactly to say and doesn't know whether to agree. This debt is not only returned due to divorce assistance. The brunette assures her friend that everything is fine, so there is no point in even worrying. Arya already has her eye on a profitable business, so she immediately understands that the investment will be worth it. No thanks needed because it's true. The woman wants to do everything possible to help as much as she can. It's not bad to help someone other than yourself. This even seems like something right, because this is what needs to be done as often as possible. Arya knows what she's talking about. The summer star, given once a year by the Empress, can help even more. If a business receives it, it will increase its influence in society. This would be nice, but there is one problem, because in order to get this star, you need to make a huge contribution to the development of the empire. Nobody said it would be easy, but nothing is impossible either. The girl is confident that everything will work out if she at least tries. All you have to do is agree, and then everything will be fine. Ciel still has doubts, but emotions are rushing out, so all he can do is agree. The man standing at the gate almost screams in despair. He must show off his inventions right away, but he will immediately be criticized for being weird. In any case, the meeting cannot be cancelled. For some reason, the young man decided that surrendering to the Marquise's daughter would be a good idea. Although in the end, nothing like that happened. Realizing that nothing will work out, the guy is about to leave, but he is stopped by a female voice who asks where he is going. The man lowers his head and dejectedly moves closer to the heroine, who looks a little upset by this behavior. The woman is glad to meet you. Epel, in turn, stuttering, says that this is mutual, although the lady herself needs his development more. There is no need to deny the obvious, so the lady just nods. She invites the young man to go inside the estate as quickly as possible. The original says that this man is capable of creating various magical objects, but his communication with people is worse than ever. In any case, it is known that the standing young man will become a great wizard who will go down in the future in the history of the world and the empire in particular. Allowing the hero to sit down on the sofa and start drinking the prepared tea, the heroine once again asks him not to worry about anything and relax. The brunette himself is very nervous because the situation is quite extraordinary. In front of him sits a girl from the family that helped found the empire. This does not mean that the scientist will be punished for this. Despite the easy atmosphere, which was created just for the conditions of calm, the young man is still terribly worried. All fear stems from the fact that in the past the person was treated with suspicion. Nobody took him seriously. Lady Laveran's turned out to be completely different, so this is the first time something like this has happened. This causes a wave of feelings. This is not a trap because the heroine is really interested in the work that the young man creates. She is a serious person who would not joke in vain. The lady heard that the latest and most important invention is called a scroll. She is willing to help with development. The hero jumps up. He still can't believe that even one living soul thinks that he's wasting his time on all sorts of nonsense. In this case, everything will begin at that very minute and second, because Apple begins to rummage diligently in the bag to get out many scrolls. All the sheets that end up on the table contain very important information. Without an experienced person, it is impossible to understand anything, but he intends to explain everything. The paper is called a scroll for a reason. The development took more than one night and more than one day, which is why it is so important. The scroll is an innovative product that allows you to collect natural mana in one place. If you process it properly, you will no longer have to carry a bunch of potions with you to restore mana. If you tear the scroll, your mana will be restored almost immediately. The consequences are reversible and everything will be even better than before. Once upon a time, when Apel talked about this scheme, he was called a liar, but it is true. Due to lack of funds, he could not create anything. The tool requires a certain rare ore. We are talking about ribbon, which is indeed quite difficult to find. It's strange that such a young lady knows about something like that. Everyone around thinks that it is just slag and that the stone has no use. This black ore is mined from gemstone mines, and this is the truth. Even a child knows where everything comes from, but not everyone is looking for a use. It so happened that the heroine has a friend who owns a similar mine, and he told everything. The information leaves the scientist speechless. That is why the beauty thinks that she will be able to provide Apple with a sufficient amount of ribbon, no matter what it is. In the original, the key to the invention of the scroll was a black magic stone, and that is how everything became known. To be completely happy, it was necessary to speed up production. In order for everything to work out, and with a sufficient amount of ore, everything will be done within 6 months. This won't prove to be a problem. Narrowing her eyes, the lady names the amount of time she gives. A month. It's unrealistic, but it's worth at least taking the risk. The development must be completed within a month in order to have time to present it at the awards and try to apply for a summer star. After the conversation, the maiden quickly leaves the room. She needs time to think through the detailed action plan that will be presented. The Summer Star Award ceremony is coming up soon, so 6 months is a long time. Ribbon will be obtained with the help of Arya, who will help. In addition to what is needed, the guy also has a small problem that makes him stop at an unattained goal. The young man had problems solving the last magic formula. It is written in an ancient language that is not mentioned in literature. The language is more than 1,000 years old, so all that remains is to calculate the chances that leader will be able to find at least something on this topic. A dark shadow with a red bow appeared outside the window. You don't have to think too long to realize that Lord Rhinos is there. The man does not answer all the questions asked about how he ended up near the estate, instead flying into the lady's arms. Making himself comfortable in the girl's palms, the young man makes a sweet sound, looking at her with eyes that match the color of the bow on his neck. The kid showed up looking like this, and now decided that the best way was to start sucking up. There was still no choice because the heroine cannot get rid of the dragon. The ribbon around the neck seems an even stranger attribute, because it becomes clear that the hero tied it himself. Lord Rhinos deliberately uses his good looks to influence the decision of a girl who is wavering with her feelings. In response, the baby just grabs the bow with his paws. Seal is 100% sure of this fact because she can't stop feeling like she's being attacked. In the future, she should at least leave the window open in the office, because if she knew that there would be a dragon there, she would have come earlier. Grabbing the pen, the young man begins to write questions. It seems that some kind of guest had arrived to see his beloved, and most likely it was a man, which of course is important. The lady needs that man for business. His name is Apple. He is a wizard who is developing magic paper with mana. If the blonde could bring his idea to reality, it would dramatically change the history of magic. The downside is that this is a problem that needs to be solved. The Virgin was told that all the formulas were written in an ancient language, which does not have any information about itself due to its age. Laughing lightly, the lady asks the Lord if he has any acquaintances who are 1,000 years or more old to decipher the text. The baby does something, and then without even making any sounds, he grabs the paper and pulls it into the air. He managed to write something quickly. The girl accepts the text that is written on paper but does not immediately understand what exactly is written there. She carefully runs her eyes over the lines. The eyes express surprise and even disbelief. Rhinos was able to deal with language problems so quickly and masterfully. Everything happened too quickly. Apple believes that there is no one left who could speak the language of their ancestors, but it turned out that this is not entirely true. Strange, but it turned out to be as simple as shelling pears, which instills a little mistrust. The girl would like to know the whole truth. This is because Rhinos is in dragon form. It becomes clear how exactly the young man deciphered the entire text without the slightest hesitation. There is no time to think, so the lady calls May into the room. She must send the letter to Apple as quickly as possible. The girl smiles because she understands that victory will be very soon, because they will be able to revive that most important letter into reality. The girl first arrived in a strange place where the houses are next to each other. The street looks suspicious, but there is still no choice. The dilapidated door did not break even after Laverins knocked on it. It is opened by Apple with a dark complexion. The status of a scientist means nothing at all, because the scroll is much more important. The young man invites the Marquise into the room, asking forgiveness for the disorder. The girl likes the idea that she can be present while the guy tries to invent a new formula. The brunette himself is also looking forward to this moment. He asks to show him the sheet with the deciphered text that came out. There is no limit to joy. All the ancient letters have been replaced with numbers, so now it is easy to formulate Ribon's synthesis. Looking at the lady in surprise, the hero asks if she was the one who managed to decipher the formula that was now handed to him. This is not true because the text was copied by a tame lizard, which is now flying around the couple, smiling. Surprised more than ever, the young man cannot believe that this is a flying lizard that speaks an ancient language like the last native speaker. Everything is exactly like that, but now I want to find out whether the formula is correct, according to which you can act, and how long it will take. It seems that what is written is correct, so you should try the solution right away. You need to mix ribon with the rest of the ingredients. The solution is finally prepared. The water in the cauldron turns blue and green, and then the young man grabs the paper to put it there. Liquid begins to come out of the cauldron, which can no longer even be contained. The heroine jumps to the side due to a sharp explosion. Apple falls to the ground. He is completely fine but does not answer the question right away because he is fascinated by the results he received. An explosion has just happened that made everyone fall to the ground, so the heroine listens to the stuttering that prevents normal words from coming out. According to the young man, this is a success that is worth it. He gets excited about completing a number of tasks even more than before, because they didn't even need a month. All formulas are correct from beginning to end. If this problem had not been resolved, he would have continued to hear about his fraud. Everything worked out thanks to the girl. Milady quickly became a benefactor without noticing it. She understands that it is not only her merit, but she still accepts praise. Apple doesn't have time to say anything more because the dragon flies closer to hit the young man in the face with its tail. He was so happy that he didn't think. The scientist was not harmed by such a small animal, but she asks for forgiveness because EQ is jealous. The guy is so happy that he hears absolutely nothing around him. He clutches a piece of paper that glows. Once the scroll is finally completed, All that remains is to show it to the world, because everything needs to be advertised, as it was done before. There is no other way out, but only the scientist himself thought so. In fact, there are quite a lot of options, and the girl herself will find a good place for the presentation. For now, they need to be quiet, like a mouse, so that no one finds out about what they're going to do. Sometimes this girl seems too angry. The place where they are located is a little cramped, so it is recommended to put everything aside for later so that nothing gets in the way. Going through letters of requests, the heroine considers the families that would suit her. She needs someone more powerful. The parcels brought by May arrived at the estate. It was all sent from the same person's address. The piece of paper indicated that it was from the Duke of Abschelkt. No one even remembered whether a man with that name existed or not. The first thing that turned out to be in one of the parcels was a health food supplement in a red jar, and not even in one copy. After everything that was discovered, the dragon also got his. He got some candies in transparent packaging. The kid opens one of them, looking at the shine that comes from the sun. EQ rejoices at what he has prepared for himself. Rhinos hands the food to the girl, who refuses. She's already eaten a lot, so she can't even hope to cram in anymore. Screams and persistent gaze still do their job. The young man forces the lady to eat the last specimen, which ends up in her mouth almost instantly. The heroine promises to take better care of herself than she currently does. He got it all to help his beloved. It's strange that the dragon is comfortable staying in his dragon form. At such a late hour, no one can come, so they can turn back. Grabbing the pen, EQ begins to diligently write something, noting that the heroine is right, because it's really quite late already. An awkward situation would not arise, but the lady herself began to imagine something obscene. It becomes clear that it is better to go to bed. The abrupt change of topic almost saved Ciel, who managed to blush. "We had a great time, but after everything it's time to go back." From the very beginning, the maiden needs to end up with a suitable place to present the scroll. We need to present it in such a way that as many people as possible know about it. There is no suitable place, but only the heroine thinks so. There will be a meeting soon for the Marquis of Cherish's charity evening with auction. He is one of the descendants of the Empress, which can greatly complicate the whole task of bringing the scroll into reality. According to Rhinos, this is, on the contrary, a good thing, because of the person's reputation, a huge number of nobles will come to his evening. This might be a good boost, but that doesn't mean anything remains wrong. The maiden is concerned about the prince's relationship with the queen. In the original, Rhinos and his stepmother had a rather strained relationship. The Empress's minions are trying to find a way to deprive Rhinos of any power. In the original, the woman hoped that the boy would be consumed by the dragon's power, and if he was going to go to the fund night, he would run into the Empress's followers. This is an ideal place, but it will be difficult to establish relationships. EQ asks not to worry, because he will only be happy if it helps his beloved. In return, the guy asks to promise something. It's about the day they spent together. It's worth thinking about it at least once more. A lot of nobles really gathered at the evening. They prepared something important because Luminous also took part. If the Laveran's family does not want to get into a stupid position, they must show something worthwhile that matches the status of the evening. A new business can do anything. The lady thanks you for your interest in the meeting, which was organized with support. Conversations that never stopped even for a minute irritate the beauty incredibly. Her business is a young baby, but that doesn't mean anything. There is absolutely no time to be upset about something like this. We need to quickly check whether preparations for the auction are going well. Passing by one of the stands, the maiden accidentally notices blonde hair. She doesn't know what Rublet Justice left here. The young man is usually one to stay away from such events, but even he came for some important reason. Remaining emotionless, the young man asks why the girl decided to hide. He is glad to meet, because he and Sorel have not seen each other for quite a long time. Again trying to correct her mangled name, the girl bows into a curtsy. She was already tired, even if the conversation had just begun. The blonde asks if the beauty wore his necklace, which he gave. He seems like he's up to something, so he says it. The lady actually wore the jewelry, and more than once. The maid was arranging for the beauty to wear it for the upcoming evening. The maid was right, because the necklace is unusually suitable for the occasion, which was selected for the auction. Trying to find out what exactly justice means, the lady frowns a little. She doesn't like riddles that are difficult to guess. The decoration is artful and complements the entire look. An auction is a worthwhile event to do yourself a favor, and find the right dress. There was a strange feeling, but it didn't matter because I needed to leave as soon as possible. The heroine apologizes and tries to disappear from view. In the distance, the figure of a young man with dark hair appears, calling Seal by name. A floral aroma fills the air. Abshelkt showed up to the event like this again, not even caring what others would say. He decided not to be a prince openly. The boy starts performing first. By coming to such an event, Ashlet proved that he was famous, but no one had heard of him, which is strange. The two should not have been allowed to meet, but the meeting still happened. If you don't do anything, it will end up worse than just bad. Charm doesn't work. He is a descendant of justice, but the guy is yet to awaken in the future. In any case, there is nothing to do with it. The young man does not consider it necessary to try to argue with Rublet, but warns that it is better for him to stay away from the girl. The necklace begins to glow imperceptibly. This attracts the attention of the blonde, who realizes that even this time he was not mistaken. There is only one person in the Empire who is capable of emitting such terrible energy, so it became clear who was standing next to him. The Duke is about to start the performance, but the lady quietly suggests finding a more suitable place to discuss and think things over. It's not a good idea to talk about something like this. Nobody wants to make unnecessary noise that will only disturb. In a place where so many people have gathered, the Marquise does not want to have a debate that will not end well. Be that as it may, the current Rublet would never have been able to cope with either the maiden herself or even the dragon. The Laverans family has the ability to imprison the evil dragon, but somehow their daughter ended up working with him. You should be careful. For better or worse, the evil dragon is in control, so he will be left alone. Next time, things may not end as peacefully as they did that day. Now that the necklace has pointed to the dragon, the man is not going to sit idly by. He will always be there to watch everything closely. The girl turns to the guy, exhaling. She thought that they would be captured right on the spot without clarifying the circumstances, just because they were together. The young man asks about her health, and even if the girl is not at ease and continues to tremble, she is fine. For some reason, the answer makes the brunette smile on his face, as if he was told something funny. It even offends me a little. There is no time for joy, although even a smile seems sweet. The beauty did her best to protect the man at the cost of her reputation. Realization comes to mind slightly slowly. The heroine encountered Duke Justice, who turned out to be simply terrible. This is why the heroine looks so amazing. She always exceeded the young man's expectations, and this gives her even more strength. The woman decided to protect the dragon, so he will not forget this. The promise is made instantly, and even if you have to sacrifice your own life, everything will be done. The auction is finally starting. The highlight of the evening are the creations of budding artists and inventors on display. Now it's time to show the whole world what a wonderful person Ciel is. She can do anything. It's time to show everyone around what the heroine is capable of, no matter what. Everything is ready for demonstration. Tonight's hero is already on stage. The scientist takes out a sheet of paper from which he reads about the invention they present. The new invention is called a scroll. Dark paper with magical properties appears on a stand on stage. First, it's worth telling more about the invention. This piece of paper is capable of containing and accumulating mana. Anyone can cast magic only with the help of a new invention. This is possible even in a world where everyone cannot use magic. This smells like a scam that does not exist at all because this is not true. Don't be sure. Everything turned out exactly as Luminous planned. Now, people are asking to see the paper in action, which led to this. Since everyone is asking for it, Eppel asks for one volunteer who can demonstrate the scroll's operation. Sir Bilgelgem is called from the hall, who knows that he does not trust magic. He's going to be the one to be believed. It would be nice to try some simple fire spell because the amount of mana is still limited, so it won't last long. By tearing the piece of paper, a person will have the power that will allow him to cast magic. The Duke snorts, realizing that for him, this is complete nonsense. Small tricks will not work on such a person, and he is more than sure of that. All the same, every fraudster will be exposed. Trying to continue saying something, the man freezes. There is a fire in your hands that cannot be quelled immediately after it starts. The fire actually bursts out of the hands of the Duke, who looks at this phenomenon in surprise because of the magic that is connected with it all. Sir Beglem had always been the one who claimed that magic was not valid, but now he understood his opinion. Now you can use it to cure anyone, and it turned out that the sorcerers who tried to help his daughter were simply lying. There is a stir in the hall. Each of those present is ready to purchase all the scrolls at this auction. The young man asks everyone to calm down. Even if they turn to him for help, he will not be able to do anything. All supplies and scrolls are owned by Lady Laverins, who stands at the end of the hall, watching over the others. People around immediately begin to shout that each of them wants to buy something. Nobody wants to retreat. Each of them wants to be the first to agree on supplies. The lady expected a violent reaction, but not this much. She thought that she would be trampled due to the influx of people. The conversation with herself is interrupted by the Duke, who seemed to appear out of nowhere. The lady would never leave him completely alone. It was a joke, so Renos immediately moves on to congratulations. After all, my friend achieved great success so quickly. This is all thanks to the guy, because if he had not helped with the formula, everything would not have ended as successfully as it could have been. The girl tries not to say that the man is cute, but still she will never forget this picture that is imprinted in her head. Previously, the girl said that the friend was special, so the conversation moves on to another confidently. The young man would like to know the answer to his question earlier. Instead of answering, the handsome man extends his hand, offering to dance with him. That's exactly what they are going to do. There was not even time to refuse, so the girl immediately agreed to dance at least one dance. Rhinos offered to give him a dance during the Marquise's triumph. He is as sweet and kind as ever, which is even more fascinating. There is only one person in the world who is so happy about the success of a friend. It is impossible to find words to describe that happiness. The heroine spins in a dance, hearing the music coming from the hall, and receives waves of warm wind that plays with her hair. As soon as the lady got into this body, what she did was try to save herself. Now everything is completely different. She is truly happy. The Empress listens to the maid's report. The new item introduced allows you to take magic without mana, which is not surprising. What's more interesting is the large sponsorship of this major invention. This is not about that wizard, but about the family of the Marquis. The woman must be in a bad mood because of all the news. It's all because of the quick ceremony of presenting the summer star. Lately, the girl has been seeing Lady Puritina more and more often, or rather every day. She decided that her favorite would become the star. This is great news. The lady was worried that she had no reason to reward Laverins with the summer star, as he was found. It is strange that Her Majesty is going to give the title to a young lady who, even if she deserves it, has not been intimate with a woman. Unable to restrain herself, the heroine begins to laugh. She can't believe that they told her something like that in order to be completely serious. Tyrael couldn't get the star because she was too stupid. She is also an important figure to use her abilities to control the prince, but nothing more. It would be foolhardy to bet on just one beauty who doesn't even know what she's doing. We need to stock up on pawns. Lady Seal once looked after Puritina, so this may also play a role. She was supposed to show the lady and the prince together, but the girl had nothing to do with the prince, because she was drawn to God knows where. The heroine's secret exits have become more frequent. She always disappeared somewhere, and only then did it become clear where exactly. This was precisely the role of Lady Laverins, who played it almost flawlessly without any mistakes. It would be much better if the girl the Crown Prince is attracted to was on the side of the Empress. So you need to have a hand in this. If everything works out as it should, then everything will go like clockwork. The prince will go crazy and turn into an evil dragon that will destroy everything. The dirty dragon will lose his throne, and only after that will it be possible to introduce the world to the beauty's second son, who will become the heir. After all that has been said, the queen asks that a list of candidates for the Summer Star be prepared for her, including 2 important ladies. Perhaps Seal will be stupid and choose something like love, or she will still cave in under the strength and power that will be offered to her. The lady has finally returned to the guild after a long break. She'd not visited the servants for several weeks. The girl asks for forgiveness. She couldn't show up because there were too many things she couldn't put off. The leader, sitting in the main office, lies on stacks of papers as if someone had killed him. Obviously, the young man was too overtired. The girl eagerly hits the guy on the back. He is a lazy person who stopped working even if they don't have time for it. Hearing this offensive word, the hero almost instantly jumps up from his seat. He can't believe he was just called that. Too much time has passed since the hero was relieved of all responsibilities. The mistress made him upset because after all this, he wants to leave the guild. The heroine laughs. She just wanted to raise the young man's salary, which made him almost sing serenades. A faithful leader wants to show his loyalty, so he delivers some letter that arrived not long ago. There will be an official announcement soon, but sources were able to force everything to be found faster. The guy asks to open the letter as soon as possible. It turned out to be a list for the Summer Star Award. The first was Tyrael Puratina, and only in 6th place was Ciel Laverans. An invitation will be sent from the Imperial Palace shortly. Congratulations are already accepted. As the friend said, everything turned out exactly as the beauty herself wanted it, but for some reason the heroine herself does not feel satisfied. The ceremony for awarding the Summer Star begins in the morning. It will be received by the one who made the greatest contribution to the development of the Empire in the past year. There are really no specific criteria because this award is presented by the Queen herself, who oversees everything. The nobles, risking their lives in order to get the reward by any means, try to win the favor of the Empress. All this now concerns even Ciel. Before she had time to look back, the carriage arrived at the Imperial Palace, which was nearby. Arya also contributed to the invention of the scroll, but most likely as a sponsor. It will be Laverans who will receive the award. About to enter the room, the maiden freezes because she sees a blonde standing in the way, smiling as if they had never met. The heroine knew that she was here, so she prepared herself mentally, and yet now she feels uncomfortable. It's worth trying to pass by. They haven't seen each other for a very long time, so it's impossible to get through. The lady pesters with questions and congratulates her on the fact that her friend was nominated for an award. The girl is incredibly happy that everything worked out for her friend, but despite everything, she does not want to forgive her old friend. The heroine asks for forgiveness. She wants to apologize for how things turned out with Lord Esset. Tears flow down your cheeks as if on their own. People around start whispering again. On the day when everything happened, the lady was able to forgive her friend. The blonde rushes forward, hugging her ex-girlfriend. She screams deliberately loudly so that everyone can hear her asking for forgiveness. Starting to whisper in her ear, the lady asks if her friend is going to continue to behave this way in front of people. Ciel is a smart girl, so she should figure it out. Just recently, everyone hated Puratina, but now they regret it. Everything was known from the very beginning. The woman helped the sick in poor areas for some time, using the powers of purification. The girl was the one who did not suspect that everything was so simple. It's too easy to win people over. People around you are too stupid. Once someone does good deeds, they immediately believe and change their minds within minutes. From the very beginning, Ciel thought that the girl was actually kind, but she wanted to believe that it was true. It was just a mask anyway. The heroine sees how Tyrael gradually becomes herself, and the feeling of guilt has become meaningless. This looks more like a compliment, or the blonde is just playing for the audience. For all this, we should thank the Empress. Lady Puratina leaves, leaving Ciel alone with her thoughts. The Summer Star will go to Tyrael, even if Arya worked very hard. The Empress has already chosen her favorite, which means that her plan is flawless and obvious. Tai is needed to control the prince, and if everything goes well, she will take the place of the princess. This was a game in which there was already a definite winner who would soon be chosen in front of the people. Standing with the rest of the participants, the girl waits until they announce that the queen, who did not stay long, is entering the hall. A woman in a beautiful dress comes on stage, saying how glad she is to see everyone at the event. This man doesn't look bad. Virgo is quite capable and has a good reputation among citizens. This year, everyone tried to make as fair a choice as possible, which, in the end, was made correctly. It was necessary to choose a worthy one. Lady Laverans receives the award. She freezes, trying to understand the correctness of what she heard. It's strange to realize that they chose the main character, and not Tyrael, who just stands behind, smiling lightly. The scroll became the brainchild that helped surpass all others. The heroine's works raised the empire to the skies. Taking out the box, the maid stops nearby, while the Empress asks to accept a little gratitude on her part. The brooch is too luxurious, but definitely worth it, showing status. More congratulations are heard from the woman. The girl who received the prize simply must agree to have a cup of tea with the queen. The ladies around begin to whisper, "Having tea with a woman is better than the Summer Star you managed to get." Everything turned out too smoothly. Ciel was only the 6th in place, so the worries only became stronger. The girl is still haunted by an annoying feeling of discomfort, which incredibly bothers her. Tyrael quietly says his congratulations. She claps her hands, saying she's happy for her friend. Going out into another room, the heroine listens to the rest of the noise, but does not listen to a single word. After the ceremony, the beauty managed to talk to many. Despite how the evening went, it didn't end badly. The only thing that scares Ciel a little is a strange feeling that won't go away. She wants to know what that smile meant. I don't want to believe that Puratina didn't even try to get the prize. The Empress could not choose another person. The maid interrupts her thoughts. The woman will send an invitation soon, but for now you need to prepare to feel comfortable. The lady hopes to meet soon in the same palace where the entire celebration and tea party will take place. The Virgin cannot continue to worry, because as long as the Empress is involved in this, the further development of events will differ from the original. All the same, the heroine cannot fight the Queen in the same way as she did with Count Esset or Valton. In any case, you need to find a way out, even if it will be quite difficult, even for a virgin like her. All that remains is to try to go through all the options for what can be done, no matter how it happens. The lady has arrived home, but immediately asks May to be alone. She was very tired over the past day. There is absolutely no time to become limp and complain about life, because you need to show the palace that the heroine is not at all afraid. This day has been too long, which makes a girl want to lie back on the pillow and forget. The window swings open. Rhinos flies in from there, and again, as usual, he appears as if out of nowhere. The girl is glad that she still knows someone whom she can trust without fear, because this helps a lot. The day was too difficult. The kid is so worried that he could barely wait until the evening to see him. Such care from a friend is incredibly reassuring. This helps you feel safe. In the prince's arms, it is so warm and light that the body floats. This was enough to relieve all the tension that had accumulated during the day. Rhinos has always been like this. He always tried to support his girlfriend at all costs on his own. The girl invites the animal to stay with her for the night, and as a sign of agreement, he runs his paw over his shoulder, leaving marks there. The crown prince is trying to give the massage his lady deserves and seems to be trying too hard. Many have already begun to say that the beauty received the prize only thanks to the scroll that she invented. Turning to the dragon to tell the latest news, the heroine says that the Empress invited her to tea. If a woman sends servants, the Marquise will not even be able to refuse. The kid starts looking for a pen to answer. She grabs Ikya in her arms, asking him to take on the form of a man. It will only become easier for them to communicate than usual. The young man had not appeared as a dragon before, even if his friend then thought that it was just a dream. Still, in order not to embarrass herself, the girl asks the guy to remain in the same form as he is now in order to say something. Not listening to what his beloved asks, the prince transforms back into a human, looming over the girl herself. Blushing a little, the blonde asks for forgiveness because he didn't want to do this, but realized the truth too late. The contract no longer makes sense because it will be difficult for the parents to persuade them to leave the engagement. Something different awaits the couple in the future. The contract may be terminated at that very moment, but even after that they want to remain in the relationship. Snuggling up to Ciel, Rhinos assures that he will not go anywhere because she asks him so much, looking straight into his eyes. The brooch in the box understands that it has been taken to a new place. This is not Tyrael, who used to be the owner, so the thing wants to talk about the past and future.